We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to 0. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to 0. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0.
We recognize different ages for different purposes. We recognize 18 for the draft. We recognize 16 for driving in some states. We recognize 21 for drinking. So we recognize different ages for different purposes. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Could I have a second to engage that?
Certainly. I'll yield to the gentleman from Kentucky.
Would the chairman join me in co-sponsoring a bill to raise the draft age to 21?
No.
But the chairman feels that their brains aren't fully formed at 18, 19, and 20.
The research does indicate that in certain respects, but the Selective Service needs, I mean, if the country needs people, it needs people.
It needs people.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Welcome back to another night of Stick with Koolfrogg. I feel so rested. I actually took a day off yesterday. Thank you so much for allowing me to do so and understanding. It's so wonderful to actually be able to do so. We'll say hi to everybody real quick. Hello, Grimsbar, Susie, Heidi, Short Order Cook. Short Order Cook, I see he said he's driving. Be safe. Tonic's in the house. Melissa Jane, how you doing? Let's see what we got here. TR, Ish, Super V, Ash. Let's talk about prepping. Wow. We got a good start. You know where we're not starting good on? Where is AmericaShirts? He's been talking to me. He's been talking to me for quite some time tonight. For at least the last hour. What do you expect he's doing right now? Yep, you guessed it right. He's feeding his face. I have no clue if that's the case. Princess, how's it going? Oh, well, let's see here. What should we do first? I think I've pretty much been creating thumbnails, and I keep on forgetting I create the thumbnail to actually be something different than what it's than what the show is about. It should be its topic of its own. And I just keep on forgetting to hit on it. So I try hitting on that before our shirts actually gets here. Yeah, exactly. Everybody screams, "Shirts, where are you?" Hello, Divinity. How you doing? So the thumbnail says, the point of modern propaganda isn't only to push an agenda, it's to exhaust your critical thinking to annihilate truth. There would be no game of chess if the pawns refuse to play. Now, I kind of play off of whatever thumbnail I have to create the title for my show, because creating titles for a show is just as important as anything else to keep them from being all confused and mixed up. Princess Koolfrogg, you're the only one that I'm allowed to that is allowed to call me princess. I've decided. That's awesome. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that. They call me Rose. How you doing? Anyway, that thumbnail. You know, as long as we're pawns in this game that they continue to play with us, we're gonna allow them to continue doing what they're doing. And the second that a bunch of pawns walk away, they're just gonna replace those pawns with more people. So until we can actually wake everybody up and explain to them that the propaganda that's being pushed through mass media is causing them to actually stop thinking, which is the critical thinking. We're really going to have some massive issues when it comes down to this game of chess. And they're just going to continue to play it, and they're going to continue to play it as much as they want. They will at least attempt to replace the pawns. Yes, exactly. They're always going to attempt to replace those pawns. Hello, Andrew Frank. Welcome. And as long as they're attempting to replace them, we're always going to be playing the same game that we're continuously playing right now. Madcore Mofo in the house. How's it going? Hello, Memento Mori, and hello, Gene, the best mod in the world. I tried to get Joe to send everyone over, but he's 10.5 shots in, so who knows. It's all right. Nick Ricada is not streaming tonight. I would assume a bunch of those are going to actually come on over anyway, eventually. Not that I wouldn't take the raid, because that would be wonderful. AmericaShirts, come on, man. What do you think you're doing? He's like, if I stick around, if I sit back long enough, will he do a show? Yes, I will. I will still do the show without you. It won't be as good, and there's going to be a lot of people that are like, where's AmericaShirts? We love those rants. I'm going to send him a message here real quick, see what's going on. He's probably still digging around trying to find the last thing that he said that he was going to try talking about tonight. We do have quite the packed show of articles and thoughts. That being said, I think we should maybe start, otherwise we're going to be here all night. Come on, AmericaShirts. Look at that. There's another subscriber. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we'll get it done and out of the way. We'll hit on Donald Trump first, just because, so we can actually get it done and all with. I know there's not so many people that are like, oh my God, it's Donald Trump again. Yeah, well, he keeps on doing more things. Maybe this will bring him in here, because you'd be like, oh, wait a minute here. I got thoughts on that. So there you go. Trump files motion seeking independent review of docs seized during FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago. So then it says, former President Trump and his legal team filed a motion Monday evening seeking an independent review of the records seized by the FBI during its unprecedented and unnecessary raid of Mar-a-Lago earlier this month, saying that the decision to search his private residence just months before the 2022 midterm elections involved political calculations aimed at diminishing and leading the voice of Republican Party President Trump. According to the motion filed Monday in the U.S. District Court, Southern District of Florida, Trump and his legal team are seeking an order to appoint a special master to review the records obtained during the search. Blocks the further review of seized materials by the government until a special master is appointed. Requires the Justice Department to provide a more detailed receipt for property, and requires the government to return any item seized that was not within the scope of the search warrant. Trump said Monday evening in the motion is strongly asserting his rights, including under the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, regarding an unnecessary, unwarranted, un-American break-in and others of his home. They demanded that the security cameras be turned off, a request we rightfully denied. They prevented my attorneys from observing what was being taken in the raid, saying absolutely not. Trump said in a statement, they took documents covered by attorney-client and executive privilege, which is not allowed. They took my passports. They even brought a safecracker to successfully broke into his personal safe, which revealed nothing. Trump said said he is now demanding that the Department of Justice be instructed to immediately stop the review of documents illegally seized from his home. All documents have previously declassified. We are demanding an appointment of special master to oversee handling of the materials taken in the raid. We are further demanding that the DOJ be forced to turn over real, without plans, inventory of my property that was taken to disclose where the property was now located. Trump added that he and his legal team are demanding that all items wrongfully taken from his home be immediately returned. The wrongful overboard warrant was signed by magistrate judge who recused himself just 2 months ago from a major civil suit that was filed because of his bias and toward him. This Mar-a-Lago break-in, search and seizure was illegal and unconstitutional. We are taking all actions necessary to get the documents back, which we would have given to them without the necessity of the despicable raid of his home. This, so that I can give them a national archives until they are required for the future Donald J. Trump Presidential Library and Museum, which every president does get. Every single one of them, regardless to what it is, they get one. They get a presidential library. He's going to create a museum out of it, which is wonderful. It's so much fun. How's it going, AmericaShirts?
Hello. Nick Ricketta's not streaming. I mean, hi, people. How's it going?
Nick Ricketta's not streaming tonight, so everybody should be here.
Sad to see that Nick Ricketta is not streaming. I hope he's feeling well, but you know.
I'm pretty sure that he went and he recorded something with somebody else tonight, which was supposed to be coming out on Thursday, if I caught that correctly. That's the reason. So it wasn't anything off of his own, being ill or anything. Autodrome 96, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you hadn't already. Please like the stream. Just kind of.
So is this an article going over what the newest stuff about the Mar-a-Lago thing, right?
Yeah. This is the newest out of the Mar-a-Lago. Whatever. Pretty much saying
the judge is saying that it's unprecedented, right?
Yeah. Donald Trump
so
saying
amazing
that he's going to actually sue him over it or whatever, and he's going to actually get his rights back on it. Everything should be coming back to him. That way, it can actually be put in his library / museum that will eventually be a thing because everybody gets a presidential library.
Isn't it so amazing? The judge that had to recuse himself with Trump versus Clinton and DNC stuff, right? Had to recuse himself. Then in this case, he just rubber stamps the raid as a magistrate, not even elected as a magistrate, of one of the biggest political scandals. And he knew it was going to be damn well, big if somebody found out about it, but he did it anyway. Rubber stamped the damn search of Trump's house and the raid. Now says, oh, the raid was unprecedented. You mean the one that you rubber stamped? Okay. I mean, holy shit. The 180-degree turn that this took. Just by this guy, holy shit, the whole country is up in an uproar and everybody's saying my name and calling me a pet groomer and other things. Oh my God, I think I need to save a little face here. So maybe he'll work for the side of good for once, for God's sake. I don't know. But I guess we'll have to see.
Let's talk about preferences if we can help it. Trump's library will be one of those library buses that drives around.
Yeah, there it is on the screen there, right? Like Judge Reinhardt, who approved the search warrant on Monday, said the raid was unprecedented and formally rejected the Biden administration's argument to keep the affidavit sealed, citing intense public and historic interest. Really? I wonder if you thought of that when you damn well rubber stamped it. Oh, wait. I mean, holy shit.
Right? So, I mean, the way this is all sounding, the way it's going, it sounds like whatever they did was, wrong and just wrong. And it will actually go back to him. And everything that they touched, everything they put their fingers on, it will now be most likely declassified like it already wasn't. It's very interesting what can come of it. So this particular article continues. It says the government urges that even requiring it to redact portions of an affidavit that could not reveal agents' identities and investigate sources and methods imposes the undue burden on its resources and sets a precedent that could be disruptive and burdensome in future cases. I do not need to reach the question of whether in some other case these concerns could justify denying public access. They very well might. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to. TR says I could imagine it also being redacted. I mean, you never know what they're actually going to do because it's, it is what it is. We don't know. He continued, particularly given the intense public and historical interest in an unprecedented search of the former president's residence, the government has not yet shown that these administrative concerns are sufficient to justify sealing. They're not sufficient to justify sealing. So if the government is not yet shown that these administrative concerns are sufficient, what in the world is going to happen? I really don't see them sealing any of this, and they're going to actually, it's going to be all let out, what all was in there, and given back to them. I do see everybody coming in here. Hey, Phil. Hey, Dragon Man. Hey, Tilly T. Going.
Dragon Man's been here.
I know, but I didn't get to say hi to him.
Oh, hey, Dragon Man.
I don't want people feeling like they're being left out.
Take me by the hand. No, that's not
Reinhardt
anyway.
will then review the redactions and determine how best to proceed, whether to accept the recommendations from government prosecutors or perform his own redactions instead. I just don't get how this judge can actually do this, how he'd actually be able to. I mean, he already did too much. He did too much for what his availability should have been. It's really kind of disturbing. And it could be very interesting on what happens next. Did you have any other thoughts on Trump? I wanted to cover it as soon and quick as possible just to get it done and over with, because there's so much more interesting stuff on.
Well, again, just so everybody is aware of everything, right? Like, well, I won't say that yet. But the thing with, again, as we just said, right, this is a lot of pushback that he's getting. So people who want to be blackpilled and say that pushback doesn't work, oh yeah, hell yeah, it does. Because holy shit, this guy is anti-Trump as hell. And as soon as there was nationwide outrage over this and using his name a million times to be associated with it, he's like, oh my God, oh no. And he just turns and does a 180 against the government that he used to serve. Holy crap. So, yeah, people, he might not be a very good guy, but he'll work on our behalf if you put enough pressure. So, keep the pressure on, ladies and gentlemen. Keep those memes up and coming. Because I can tell you what, every day he goes on and he's like, I want to type something bad about Trump. And then somebody sends him like 85 messages of photoshopped of him with Jeffrey Epstein doing different things in different positions. Like, oh my God, like, like, I mean, pressure works here, ladies and gentlemen. So keep it up. That's all I can say about that.
Okay. So then let's kind of move on here real quick. So then here, look at that. A statement by Anthony Fauci from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
Mento, I'm not saying to trust. I'm just saying, like, he's doing something good now, and I'm just using the saying of, like, putting pressure gets things done. Like, standing up and fighting back gets things done. We're winning. So, that's all. He says it. So, Anthony Faucisms is going down the toilet.
Right. So I'm going to actually read this out. It's not too long. It's fairly short.
I flushed myself.
It's his own words and what he actually, what he's going to actually do. Right. So then, again,
where your mask,
today.
Filthy animal. I won't wear anything at all.
I don't know about replacing him. I don't know if it needs to be replaced.
No one can replace me.
Remove him completely. So the article is very detailed, and before we go into it, we are not doctors, we are not lawyers, we're not trying to tell anybody to do what they should or shouldn't do. They should always go and see their doctors.
He doesn't even
for
practice.
them.
And yet I tell you what to do with everything in your life. Your poor, miserable peasant life.
Yes. Brodsky.
I've been made a saint by all of you lovely people. I'd like to thank you formally for that. And with all the money that you just gave me,
I killed
with all of your
people, and you can't touch me. Mm-hmm. We don't know that.
Yes.
I
mean, some do. Yeah. Perhaps. But we won't go there. But thank you all so much.
Maybe Bill Gates might know.
For all the money that you all gave me from all of your jabs stuff, you know. I got investments in all of it. So I'm going to take all of your cash and I'm going to run for the hills. Because I just started a war of some sort, you know. Yeah.
Fauci the precious.
Thank you. I am very precious. I happen to think myself as very precious.
All right. So real quick, we'll just kind of skim through this and read this as fast as we possibly can without actually making any other things that we actually already said. Stop it. You can continue in a minute. Okay, Fauci. I'm announcing today that I'll be stepping down from the positions of Director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the Chief of the NIAID Laboratory in Immunoregulation, as well as the position of Chief Medical Advisor of President Joe Biden. I will be leaving this position in December of this year to pursue the next chapter of career. It has been the honor of a lifetime to have led the NIAID, the extraordinary institution for so many years and through so many scientific and public health challenges. I'm very proud of our many accomplishments. I have worked with and learned from countless talented, dedicated people in my own laboratory in NIH and beyond. To them, I express my abiding respect and gratitude. Over the past 38 years at NIAID Director, I have had the enormous privilege of serving under the advising 7 presidents of the United States, beginning with President Ronald Reagan.
That
A
bastard
newly
didn't know what was
emerged.
coming his way.
He's been around that long. That's a long time. A newly emerging and re-emerging infectious disease threats, including HIV and AIDS, West Nile, anthrax, pandemic influenza, various bird influenza threats,
I'm
Ebola,
so very
Zika,
proud of all of that.
some others, and of course the most recent Koolfrogg pandemic. I am particularly
Don't
proud
you love it, folks?
to have
He can't even
served as
say the
chief
word on
medical
YouTube. I'm
advisor
so
to
powerful.
President Joe Biden since the very first day of his administration. While I'm moving on from my current positions, I'm not retiring. After more than 50 years of government service, I plan to pursue the next phase of my career. While I still have so much energy and passion for my field,
And I do, really.
I want to use what I've learned at the NIAID Director to continue to advance science and public health and to inspire and mentor
Yes.
the next generation of scientific leaders as they help
Oh,
prepare the world to
yes.
face future infectious disease threats.
Because there will be. There will be.
Over the coming months, I will continue to put my full effort, passion, and commitment into my
I
current
have to laugh at
responsibilities,
that.
as well as help prepare the Institute for leadership transition. NIH is served by some of the most talented scientists in the world, and I have no doubt leaving the work in very capable hands. Thanks to the power of science and investments in research and innovation, the world has been able to fight deadly
After what I
diseases
just did.
and help save lives around the globe. I am proud to have been part of this important work and look forward to helping to continue to do so in the future.
Because there will be more things in the future for you peasants.
This man, why is he? Why are you allowed to stick around, Mr. Fauci? Why have you been
Because
able to run things for so long under every president? To get it, that should be a part of the cabinet or something where it gets replaced every 4 years, as opposed to being able to run around being something for the better part of 45 years. How old is this man? Is he just as old as Joe Biden? Can you tell me how old you are, sir?
I could, but I'm not going to. Peasants aren't privy to that kind of information. As my boss, Mr. Gates, likes to say. Now, I can probably tell you how old some of you all will be when you die, but you know, I mean, you're gonna live a long, happy life in your pods, eating all those bad bug things with masks on your faces. Be sure to wear 4 of them. Just to be sure, people, because we don't want any of those floaty things that I may or may not have had a part in.
Put this on for 10 seconds while I pretend to work. Why is shirts possessed by Beelzebub? Says Megan Perkins. Hello, Megan. How you doing, dear?
I believe that's Fauci. That's me. I laugh a lot. in private.
Unironically, Shirts sounds like the man.
Oh, I'm gonna be the mayor of your life. All of your life.
You guys need to make a cartoon. That's a thought. That'd be interesting. I'm sure we could figure something out. Think the man of many voices. Well, 3 at least.
I am a man of many talents, many different viruses in labs across different continents and such. Now listen here, you little punk.
Step away from the dab pen. Step away from the pen. Koolfrogg, YouTube overloads. We are very happy for Lord Fauci's performance, as
Thank
he
you.
definitely did not kill thousands of people with the AIDS. Definitely weren't holding signs saying you're killing us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr.
The United
Mr.
Spot
Rex,
just did a fresh
whatever.
fry of Fauci. Oh. We might have to actually go and check out. Andrew Frank, not been actively listening, but I like the sound of Shirt's smoker voice. He's just making that up. That's the fun part. Teams meeting. Conspiracy music. Hello. How are you doing, sir? Good to see you. Good to see you.
No conspiracies are allowed on this platform, remember? Because I tell all of you what to do.
So then, being
And
that
now-
he's here,
now
I do
I'll
have
be
him scheduled to
working
come
in the
in
shadows.
Friday night during our tinfoil hat night, our big party that we're going to come and do. It should be good. It should be super hilarious. You might actually see my face for the first time. If you hadn't already, just saying. He does sound like an old lady from Brooklyn that smoked 4 packs of Marlboros a day for 60 years.
You know, that's not very wise of you to be saying to your new masters.
Yes, princess. My face with this cool beard. Everybody might just get a good look at it. Friday. Yes, Friday. Foil hats. Yep, it's going to be hilarious. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be a great party. So, let's see here. From one old man to the next. Biden marks Slavery Remembrance Day. Great nations don't hide from their history. President Biden commemorated Slavery Remembrance Day on Saturday, saying that the statement that nations don't hide their history. Today is the day to reflect on terrible toll of slavery and our nation's profound ability to heal and emerge stronger. Despite the horrors they faced, these men and women and their descendants have made countless contributions to the building of this nation in this continuous effort to realize the American ideal. The president said that he was honored to sign legislation last year making Juneteenth, which marks the day of the last African Americans were told slavery had ended and the Civil War was no more a federal holiday. Biden also recognized Al Green and Elizabeth Warren among the lawmakers who pushed to establish Slavery Remembrance Day on August 20th. If y'all missed it, it was 2 days ago. Sorry. The lawmakers reintroduced legislation last year to mark Slavery Remembrance Day on August 20th. Legislation commemorating the day that this month. It awaits consideration in the Senate. My original Remembrance Day resolution denounces slavery, encourages people across the length and breadth of our nation to acknowledge and preserve role slavery played in our history, as well as stipulations the U.S. House of Representatives officially supports an establishment of an annual Slavery Remembrance Day of August 20th. We get another holiday. Everybody excited for that? We're going to actually go ahead and we're going to remember something that we, should always have remembered, so that way we don't continue to repeat what happened previously.
And read this. This is the most important line here.
Yeah. Date was chosen because on August 20th, 1619, a slave ship, the White Lion, arrived in Point Comfort near Norfolk, Virginia, with the first 20 enslaved Africans brought to the English-speaking American colonies. Green hosted a breakfast on Saturday to commemorate Slavery Remembrance Day in Houston.
See, this whole thing is supposed to be for remembering slavery, not to remember people who were freed from slavery, or who, yes, there were things that, they faced that adversity, but then they overcame that. We're not talking about the individuals. We're talking about America being forced to relive slavery. I mean, it's not a day of remembrance. It's a day of reliving. You're not remembering anything. They're wanting you to try and think about the whole thing of like slavery and slave this and slave that, rather than having something where it's like, like Holocaust Remembrance Day, right? Where you have that day set aside as a day to remember those who had perished, obviously. But also but what it is, it's to remember, again, the individuals, right? It's to remember the people. This is just saying the practice of slavery you must remember because America is bad. How about you do something, if you really give a damn, talking about, the people that were enslaved, right? Rather than just being this racist, racially ambiguous term of because all people that are black were treated bad and they were all enslaved. That's not even true, for one. And number two, again, as I said, if you gave a damn about the history, you would go and you would have a day of remembering those who were enslaved, or those who suffered underneath of that, and those who made it out, and the progress that was made. So it wouldn't be like Slavery Remembrance Day. It would be like something else. I don't know, maybe something associated with the Civil War type of thing. I don't know. Like a Civil War Remembrance Day, maybe, right? Because that was like the pinnacle point in time of which slavery was reversed, where it was at its height and then it was reversed. And so it made a climax and then went back down. So maybe something to do with the Civil War and why it was done. Maybe not even that. I mean, I don't know, but maybe you could recognize something about the people rather than just this, again, right? Because again, it's just a racial thing. It's just to stir up racial BS.
You see TR's question? Didn't Trump Juneteenth a federal holiday? I'm confused about how Biden and Trump both claim the Juneteenth thing.
I don't think it was successful.
I wasn't quite sure, but I know that it had been around. It's not like it's a new thing.
It was around, right?
Right.
Because they were trying to do that in 2020.
Right. They were trying to do it back. They've been trying to do this for years. I mean, really, it's just that it's now a federal holiday as opposed to it just being a holiday, a Remembrance Day. So now they want to make it a federal holiday. Hey, Yaya, how you doing, dear?
Got to be up in 3.5 hours. Hit the road for vacation. Well, have fun.
Nice.
Thanks
have
for
fun on your
stopping by.
vacation.
Give it a view.
Wonderful.
Yeah, there you go, Ash. That's the point of this whole thing, right? There you go. And of course, the 1619 date, right?
That
August
one,
20th, 1619.
divide,
Yeah.
divide. Yep.
Yep. And again, the emphasis on like 1619. Again, they're not talking about people who were faced oppression. They're talking about the date that slavery as a practice began. Right? They're wanting you to like relive a practice. Because the Democrats are a bunch of racist freaks who think that like they can just broadly sweep all of black people into this. And so they don't need to talk about black people and people's struggle or individuals. No. We don't need to recognize you as people. Just recognize the practice and just go with it because they're black. They're not going to care. They're stupid, according
they
to
picked
these
the date
Democrats.
1619 to actually go and, because 1619 just so happens to be something of relevance to Democrats. Because
Yeah, the
anything else-
1619 project.
right.
Trying to, again, right, like to bring that back into the educational sphere, to push that on everything, right? And that'll be the date. It's like, see, it's a national holiday, right? Like the nation supports this. This is a part of it. Like, it's that whole process of, culturally brainwashing you, societally brainwashing you into believing something about yourselves and again, America defeated slavery. So how about you like celebrate the defeat of slavery? Oh, well, that's Juneteenth. No, that was with Texas. That's a Texas holiday.
Well, that's why they're celebrating this or whatever.
And
they're
then that's all just
commemorating it
divisive
in
as well.
Houston because that's the best place to do it. Not the point of Norfolk, Virginia, but in Houston. Because
I mean, we all know
makes
what this is,
total
right?
sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Makes so
again,
much
as Ash said, it's just racially divide. Let's bring up old wounds. Let's tear things up. Yep.
Mike, it's an honor. It is. Is it to honor the dead? Is it so it never happens again? Why remember? I submit because it generates emotion that tends to override thought.
Well, exactly.
Over and over again. Yep.
Exactly. It's a tool for societal brainwashing through this overly emotional BS of, again, right? Again, it's not honoring those who perished, right? It's not honoring dead. It's not saying, let's make sure something like this never happens again. This was a very brutal and bad thing. They're not even talking about that. It's just, it's just a racial divided thing. He's 100% correct.
Gene says, what happened to we all bleed red? I wish that was still the case, that it was as simple as that we actually all believed the same way. But there seems to be some kind of, like a couple of people have said, a divide that keeps on continuing to make us feel an emotion, something totally different than, the way it really actually should be. Michael Hagan, to cause anger and fear. So I mean, there's plenty to it. There really is. And I don't think that we should have another federal holiday. Because now that it's considered a holiday on the 20th of August. Every year on the 20th of August, you'll notice certain places like post offices and other things, whatever, will be closed. Give them another reason to continue to pay people to not work. Because that's what we do. We should pay more people to not work. Exactly, Ash. The more they divide, the more control they have. And that's what they're going to continue to do. Control. More and more control.
Yep.
So, do you want to pull up something? You want to change the...
Not right now.
Not right now. So find another better place to do that. I got so many tabs sitting here, I don't even know where to go next.
Just go.
Another thing from Biden. Do what?
I said, just go.
Just go.
Just go.
Just do something different. Let's change thought.
Do it.
Get away from the talk of another federal holiday that doesn't need to exist.
But I shouldn't. Do it.
In reality, what's up, man? How you doing? You got quite a following. That's awesome. I love it. Thank you all so much for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you hadn't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me. Trying to get to that 500 mark to get that community tab another time. Well, look at that. It did go up another one. So much. Love it. It's awesome. So here, look at that. Gas prices are down, but problems at the pump isn't going away. I wonder why. Because though he says it's dropped, it doesn't mean that it's dropped back to where it was. It's just saying that its average drop is below $4. I'm wondering where it's actually below $4, because it's still here in this small town that I live in. It's still over $4. Why? Because there's an interstate that runs straight through it. So being that there's an interstate that runs through it, you get people that travel through. They're going to continue to keep it as high as they possibly can to make their dollar. Because, dang well, the price of gas is ridiculous. So, this is the White House has dropped an average price of gas to below $4 last week to talk to President Joe Biden's response to record high oil prices and push back on Republicans who blamed him for an earlier price spike. Who else are we going to blame? Divinity says $4.95 is the cheapest I've seen anywhere in Cali. Most is over $5. Memento Mori says $3.89. Ish says here it's actually $4.29, but it's like $3.79. Okay. Divinity says $5.85. Holy crap.
Divinity's probably going to have to pay like $25 a gallon here pretty soon,
Right? She's going to want to take off out of California as soon as she possibly can when she actually gets down to it.
Oh my God, the state of Hawaii. I mean, they'll probably end up paying like $100 a gallon. It's like freaking, it's cheaper to buy precious metals at that point.
TR says, I was under the impression that the White House has not control over gas prices.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. They have
Until
no
they
control
are,
over
but they
any
are,
of
but they're
that.
not, but they're not, but they are. Okay.
Let's see. Here's the quote. The Federal Reserve right now is the main domestic actor in the oil prices and higher interest rate hikes. The specter of recession is certainly in the oil market. The new map, Energy, Climate, and Clash of Nations. The author is Daniel Yergin, who's saying that. And it's like, oh. So the Federal Reserve right now is the main domestic actor? Oh, I wonder who had anything to do with the money. Could that be this Biden administration that has some pull over any of that or all of it? Because he seems to keep on blaming it on somebody else. He blames it on Russia. He keeps on saying that it's Russia's fault. It's Russia's fault because they invaded the Ukraine. Excuse me. They invaded Ukraine. I keep on saying the, and I've been corrected and been told that it's not the.
It is.
It's just Ukraine.
But if they would not like to use that, I mean, But historically, I mean, again, the literal word, I'm not saying you agree with this or not, Koolfrogg, but I'm just saying, like,
the
literal
word means
Ukraine, it literally means borderland.
Right.
So when someone says the borderland, that's just what that means.
Let's see here. There was another quote in there. There isn't really been a policy that we can point you to that has helped the situation. When the executives meet with the White House over a few months, their primary message was don't make it worse. there are a lot of things that they're considering that they have not done that would be really exacerbated the situation. So to the extent that they want to take credit for anything, I would say it is by not interfering. Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't interfere. Just let the gas prices do what they do. You know, selling barrels and barrels of oil to another country like China has nothing to do with anything because that never happened. Thoughts before we move on? Yeah, we're going to be all over the place. There's so much news that happened within the last 3-4.
Oh, yeah.
You let me know when you want to pull up something. You let me know.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready. I know you said you had tabs.
Rolling things around here.
While you're figuring something out. So then, Mitch McConnell. Can conservatives get rid of Mitch McConnell? And should they? Yes. Get rid of that old turtle. Throw him back into the ocean and let him go away. He doesn't need to be what he calls a Republican, because I don't believe that is what he is. I believe he is a rhino. So this article says the routine calls of the Republicans to do something about Mitch McConnell, and I get it. He's a creature of the establishment. He has not exactly been the kindest guide toward upstart conservatives coming to Washington, D.C., and never really been so much of an ally of Trump as he was just the same side for certain issues. We have covered McConnell extensively here at Red State, condemning his more established behavior at times while also begrudgingly admitting that the overturning of Roe v. Wade wouldn't have happened without him. I've affectionately referred to him as a supervillain on at least one occasion. Conservatives are currently upset at McConnell for casting doubt on the more pro-Trump candidates who are currently struggling in their Senate races over at the conservative site River. I don't care about all these websites and all these different nippers. It doesn't matter who's writing the stuff. Everybody's always going to put their own side to it. And they're going to be like, oh, well, you know, when you listen to me, this is what you're going to get. When you listen to the other guy, you're going to get the other side of it. We're not with either side. Well, I'm not anyway. I really don't like either side of this. Both sides are trash. McConnell is 80 years old and has spent the last 6 decades of his life in Washington, D.C. as a member of the Swamp. He started working in Washington, D.C. as the U.S. Senate intern in 1964 at the age of 22. Again, reason that I want term limits for all members of Congress, because this is what they do. The U.S. Senate intern, over the next 20 years, he held political positions in both Kentucky and Washington, D.C. before being elected to the U.S. Senate in 1984. It is no surprise that McConnell supports moderate Republican candidates who despise the Tea Party movement and truly hates everything associated with MAGA and Donald Trump. McConnell is the type of Republican who is comfortable with the U.S. Senators Mitt Romney and Lisa Murkowski, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and the members of the Bush family. He is an epitome of the party's problem. He totally is. The biggest campaign story last week wasn't Mitch McConnell's warning that Republicans might not retake the Senate in November. That's been clear since the party nominated so many candidates whose main advantage was support from Donald Trump. The biggest story was that those candidates are now calling Mr. McConnell to come to their rescue. Exhibit A is Ohio, where the super PAC allied with Mr. McConnell and Senate Leadership Fund is bidding $28 million to save GOP nominee J.D. Vance. The Hillbilly Elegy author won the primary as a divided field after Mr. Trump endorsed him, but Mr. Vance was struggled to raise money from the GOP donor network he disdained as he courted the populist right. That worked in the primary, but it may not be enough to win in November. I guess we'll find out in November. Guess we'll find out in November exactly how far it actually goes and what happens to people like J.D. Vance. When you deal with somebody like Mr. McConnell, who's just a swamp creature in himself, he really seriously right? Exactly. I'm just a piece of shit. They call me a swamp monster.
But the color swamp because I live with the swamp.
Oh, ouch. Debbie just says I sneezed and pulled the muscle in my back. That would suck. Prepping like mine better. Haha.
Hey, listen, it's not like I was necessarily in competition. You just gotta
Right,
you just gotta give it a little bit of a blah blah blah. It all works itself out. Ash swamp monster with the swamp pie hole.
turtle.
Have a McConnell rap off. I can't rap, so I'd have to actually get something to read off and kind of make it sound like a rap. I'm a swamp monster. I'm a swamp monster. Your turn.
How come he's got to look like a pelican? I saw him swoop a fish out of a lake once. I swear to God. I mean, most people refer to Mitch McConnell as a turtle because he looks like one of those Galapagos turtles.
His collar goes up so far in his neck, and it makes all those wrinkles kind of show.
Well, I think his chin attaches to his neck, actually, the bottom of his neck, and so that kind of looks like very turtle-esque, like this head and like the nose. He looks like a snapping turtle. Is what he looks like, really.
He says, "Don't put words in my mouth." The shirt's clearly being exaggerated. Frog sounded accurate. He does look a lot like a turtle. Exactly, Andrew.
I mean, he does. He looks like. I mean, he's from Kentucky. He's a Kentucky snapping turtle.
He's a turtle.
I swam a family like way back. Way back from our.
Like I said, your turn. Let's go.
My turn.
Yeah, go ahead. Throw something up, man. Not ready yet? She said, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready yet.
Not ready yet. All right.
I got
Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham
subpoena
subpoenaed in Georgia election blocked by judges. Oh, really? Federal Court of Appeals issued a temporary stay in order to require Senate Lindsey Graham to testify in front of Fulton County, Georgia special grand jury, blocking a subpoena probing former President Trump's alleged interference in a particular election. We're not saying anything bad about it. We're not actually saying that it actually happened because we know the most legitimate president is President Joe Biden with the most votes up. Jimmy YouTube in the house.
Yo.
He says. The decision, which came to a 3-judge panel, will send the case back to district court to decide whether Graham is entitled to the partial or modification of subpoena. The judges agree with Graham. The Constitution speech and debate clause prevents him from appearing before a grand jury in Fulton County. The senator was poised to appear before a special grand jury later this week after the decision from the U.S. District Court rejected his request to quash the subpoena, forcing the senator to testify in the interest of not delaying the investigation. The judge ruled that Graham does not have testimonial immunity. Earlier this week, U.S. District Judge Lee Martin May said that Graham could still be questioned even if the speech, the debate clause in the Constitution protected it. The mere possibility that some lines of inquiry could implicate Senator Graham's immunity under the speech or debate clause does not justify quashing the subpoena in its entirety because there are considerable areas of clearly not legislative nature. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office said that the senator's testimony is crucial to the investigation because he is expected to provide information regarding additional sources of relevant information. I don't want to read the actual whatever subpoena. It's not necessary. I don't think it is. Pretty much the way it sounds to me is because of the temporary stay. My thoughts are leaving me. I'm sorry. I just totally screwed all that up. Like my brain just said, "No, you don't get to think."
No thinky winky.
Yep, no thinking to go along with it. You just, it's just there. He was actually supposed to actually show up in front of this jury, and I really don't see them actually bring him up to this jury at all, and giving him the immunity to not have to do so could really make things very interesting, to say the least. Yeah. Thank you, Gene. Exactly. Just Jimmy says I'm in the Twin Cities. As I would hop on. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna stop sharing that because it was what it was. Did you have something yet? Are you still not ready for it?
1 second.
Okay, here we'll pull this one up and we'll let you. We have some thoughts about this one. Liz Cheney says she'll support Dems in races against some Republicans. Says a Republican out of Wyoming. She's going to actually back Democrats now. Oh, you don't say. She said on Sunday that she will support opponents of the GOP candidates whom she deems election deniers. That is her whole motive. Is anybody that denies anything, is she's going to actually go and she's going to focus on the other person, and she's going to actually try promoting them or whatever, giving them her thoughts and opinions. And anybody that she goes and stands behind, just don't vote for them. That's all you need to do. Don't vote for them that she stands behind. Because if you're going to vote for somebody that she stands behind, it's like voting for her. That'd be... Yeah. Jimmy. LOL. The Cheney family. She needs to go away. She needs to remove herself completely from the U.S. government. She doesn't deserve to be there. And I'm just waiting for the next whatever... Because dang well she's got children, Somebody slept with Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy.
But pretty much what it is she's against those deniers. She's so bitter. Well said, Koolfrogg. Right, exactly. It's a vote for her. That's exactly what it would be. Is anybody that she's going to actually stand behind? That's what you're going to do. Is you're going to end up voting for her. You're going to give her votes. You're going to give her reasons to feel that she needs to continue to move on with government and actually going. I wouldn't doubt that we wouldn't see her come up in like 2024 for some reason whatsoever. Jimmy YouTube, the resemblance is there. Yeah, you can totally see it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely there.
Yeah, she's already said that her daughter's in law school and on track to become a political person. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's the family that's going to actually continue to produce more and more. This Piggy.
Miss Piggy.
I hope the children look better than she does. Imagine if Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog had children, would the children look halfway decent? Or would they look like worse swamp creatures than we already have? And Germ says, hey guys, let's not pick on Liz. Do you know who her dad is? I don't want to be picking birdshot out of my face. Oh, crap. Here you go. Somebody went and sent me an image of what I'd expect to look like.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Tonic.
Oh, we all can't forget.
TR, yeah, we did play the deep fake.
You mean that?
Yeah, this one.
Well, look, I think today, no matter what the outcome is certainly the beginning of a battle that is going to continue, is going to go on. And as a country, we're facing very challenging and difficult times. We're facing a moment where our democracy really is under attack and under threat.
Jimmy.
Oh, and then
you have to apologize for being in the way of the shot.
Oh, right, exactly.
You got some laughs out of it.
But and of course we can't forget the infamous, as we're talking about, Dick Cheney, right?
What's up, a succulent Chinese meal? How you doing? There you go, 100% legit.
Can't forget.
The real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. Saddam's weapons of mass
Real man wouldn't lie to his supporters.
Wouldn't lie to his supporters. Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use them against our friends, against our allies, and against us. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. The grave danger of Saddam Hussein and his terrorist allies turning weapons of mass destruction against us or our friends and allies. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. Relentless in the extreme to rule out action and save our worries until the day they strike. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters of Saddam's weapons of mass destruction. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use them against our friends, against our allies, and against us. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. A grave danger.
A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters.
It just keeps like repeating itself.
So, just like I said about the red state, you kind of have to think about it, and you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, because it's, one side of the realm actually telling stories, just like the Hill. The Hill tells stories, and they're going to add their own.
Would lie to his supporters.
Prepping says, stop, he's already dead. Ooh. Yeah, welcome a good logic raid. Awesome.
Raid.
Jimmy says, I wish I could hit the like button twice. Don't hit it twice, hit it 3 times. If you're going to hit it more than once, you do it 3 times. Twice doesn't help. Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, with the red state, you got to take salt. You also have to take the left in their crap with a grain of salt. So here's one from South Dakota. Governor Kristi Noem may have engaged in misconduct. Pretty much what it gets going to or whatever is so this is South Dakota Ethics Board of Monday said that it found sufficient information that Kristi Noem may have engaged in misconduct when she intervened in her daughter's application for a real estate appraiser's license and referred a separate complaint over her state's airplane use to the state's attorney general for investigation. The 3 retired judges on the Government Accountability Board determined that appropriate action could be taken against Noem for her role in her daughter's appraiser licensure, though it didn't specify the action. I'm with you, TR. That's mine. That's what I'm talking about. That's my governor right there. The board's moves potentially escalate the ramifications of investigations into Noem. The Republican governor faces re-election this year and has also positioned herself as an aspirant to the White House in 2024. She is under scrutiny for the board after Jason Ravensburg, the state's former Republican attorney general, filed complaints that stemmed from media reports on Noem's actions in office. She has denied any wrongdoing. After meeting the closed-door session for 1 hour Monday, the board voted unanimously to invoke procedures that allow for a contested case hearing to give Noem, who has denied wrongdoing, a chance to publicly defend herself against allegations of misconduct related to conflicts of interest and malfeasance. The board also dismissed Ravensburg allegations that Noem misused state funds in an episode. However, the retired judges left it unclear how they would proceed. Lori Wilbur, the board chair, said that the complaint was partially dismissed and partially closed, but added that the complaint could be reopened. She declined to discuss what would cause the board to reopen the complaint. The board can issue a public and private reprimand for direct an official to do community service. It can also make recommendations to the governor, though the option seems unlikely since the complaints are leveled against Noem. The AP first reported that governor took a hands-on role in the state agency soon after it had moved to deny her daughter's application for an appraiser's license in 2020. Noem had called a meeting with her daughter, the labor secretary, and then director of the appraiser certification program, where a plan was discussed to give the governor's daughter, Cassidy Peters, another chance to show she could meet federal standards in her appraiser work. The complaints are proving to be the first major test of the board, which was launched in 2017 in response to several scandals in state government. It has never taken public action against a state official. The retired judges also referred a complaint that Nome flew in state-owned airplanes to political events to the state attorney general's office for further investigation. That puts the investigation under the oversight of the interim attorney general, Mark Vargo, who is appointed by Nome. When asked whether he could recuse himself from the investigation, Vargo in a statement, based on the fact that this just happened, no decision has been made. He will be diligent in we will be diligent in our duty and thoroughly investigate the complaint that the Government Accountability Board was presented to the Attorney General's office. He said in an earlier statement, the investigation, as with all other investigations, will remain confidential, as does the complaint that has been presented to us. We have no more comment at this time. Knowing what I know as a complainant, Governor Nome should be fully investigated for her abuse of power in getting her daughter an appraiser license, and Governor Nome should be prosecuted for her criminal use of state resources. So, to me, it sounds like they're pretty much just going to go after her anyway. Though, again, the article comes from The Hill. I don't see the way it's worded. I don't see how what they're going to actually do, if it's actually going to be a thing, or if it's going to affect her being a governor, if it's going to affect her running in 2024, whether it's if she's going to run in 2024, if she's going to run as a candidate against or with or whatever to Trump. It could be really interesting what could happen next. I hope that everything goes well for her. I really enjoy her being the governor of this great state of South Dakota. Any thoughts? He's like, I wasn't listening.
I mean, it's like, oh, she should be fully prosecuted to the full extent of the law, blah, blah, blah. And then we have a bunch of lefties letting people out of prison, killing people, so, hey.
Memento Mori says the leftists have national plan to take over everything and smear anyone that gets in the way. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. That's what they do. Midnight Toker, welcome. The devil went down. Let's take that down. Your turn.
Okay.
Others, I'm going to take this a total another direction.
Well, since we have some more viewership here, since apparently we got rated, let's go with some of these big ones.
So real quick, Matthew says, I think she's up for this year. Yes, she is up for re-election. We'll be voting
really
in November for.
Do you suppose that somebody somewhere is trying to make her look bad politically?
Oh, you don't say. Let's bring up something that's potentially relevant, to the situation and see what comes.
I know, it's like when she did this stuff, allegedly, nobody said anything. And then now it's like, oh, she's running, so let's smear her, right? Don't be surprised
Susie asked, did the previous governor do the same thing? I don't know. I don't know who the previous governors. I've only been living here for the last 4 months. JMK. Only if Koolfrogg is cool with it. Really not sure where that actually came from, but it's fun.
Cool.
TR says we don't allow people to defend themselves anymore. How do you let her face her accusers and defend herself? We don't do that in the communist states of America.
Yes. And the USSA, we don't. I don't know what the hell the rest of that song is. You know the Russian. You know the Russian theme
Kermit
song, the
music
communist
video.
theme song. Huh?
I don't know how that is. I don't know if there's something new.
They must be talking amongst each other.
She said that to me. She says at Koolfrogg, Kermit music video.
Oh.
It is. I don't know what that is. JMK says Kermit drips Devil Artemis. I'm sorry. I'm lost. I don't know what any of that means. You're up.
Okay. So we have this little situation here. Okay. In case you didn't know, there's a little bit of something going on over there in eastern Ukraine there. Kind of like a war type of thing, right? You know, like boom booms and big bombs and guns and things. So Putin warns Macron of risk of, quote, catastrophe at Ukraine nuclear plant. This is from Reuters, of course. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, that shelling of the Russian-controlled Zaporizhzhia? I don't know how exactly to pronounce that with the spelling. But, you know, that one, the nuclear power plant that everybody's been hearing about, in southern Ukraine, which he blamed on Kiev, could result in a large-scale disaster. Moscow and Kiev have accused each other of shelling Europe's largest nuclear power plant.
Good night, Dragon Man.
Oh, later, Dragon Man. Which was captured by Russia in March, but is still run by Ukrainian technicians. Only 2 of the facility's 6 reactors are working. Vladimir Putin, in particular, stressed that the systematic shelling of the territory of that power plant by the Ukrainian military created the danger of a large-scale catastrophe and could lead to radiation contamination of vast territories. The Kremlin said in a readout of the call, which it said had been made to Macron. Ukraine and Russia have accused each other of planning provocations at the plant. Kiev and Russian forces plan to disconnect the facility from the Ukrainian power grid and link it up to the Russian one. The Kremlin said Putin and Macron had stressed the importance of sending a delegation from the International Atomic Energy Agency to the plant as soon as possible. Oh, I bet they're going to do a little bit. Because, you know, these world agencies and international agencies, they always mean the best for you, right? Putin confirmed Russia's readiness to provide these inspectors with the necessary assistance, according to the Kremlin. In the call, Putin also told Macron about continuing obstacles to supplying Russian food and fertilizer and products food to world markets, fertilizer products to world markets. Okay. So yeah. Remember from my videos previously, the power plant that everybody was freaking out about because as Putin was making his way into these areas, everybody was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna like blow up the whole planet. He's gonna like blow up the nuclear power plant. He's gonna blow it up because Putin just loves blowing everything to hell." Well, that never happened. It's still there, but I have control over it. And it's like, but why would Russia bomb their own power plant that they want to connect to Russia that would leak radiation literally everywhere and make everything around that entire area completely useless? I don't get it. So, yeah. And again, as we found out after the fact, that, oh, those shellings and those things that were going on at the power plant, towards the power plant, that came from Ukraine side. That came from the Ukraine side. As we found out later on. Some of the workers that were there were literally setting the place on fire. But hey, it's Russia that's bombing their own nuclear power plant that they control it now. Because that makes
sense.
Makes
It
sense,
makes
right?
total sense.
Like, wouldn't you
yeah.
want
Well,
to
why wouldn't
make-
Why wouldn't you bomb something that you control?
Right, and then you could riddle the entire area that you just took control of with nuclear radiation. Like, why not? Does that sound great? Like Europe's breadbasket, let's just riddle the whole place with radiation just cuz. I mean, you know. I know. It's like the argument for Putin taking it over is because Putin wants to like rebuild the whatever the hell, the USSR, and he wants to do this, and he wants to do that. And then like, oh yeah, of course he's going to gain stuff because Ukraine has fertile land, da-da-da. It's like, oh, well, if it has fertile land, why the hell is he wanting to fill it with radiation then? Huh? And then, of course, that radiation is going to blow back into some other places too after a while, you know, like Russia, like other nations. So I don't think that that's a very wise idea, which is why it's probably not happening from the Russian side. So it was leaking already previously. Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe it was, but yeah, lighting the place on fire doesn't help, and shelling things like that probably isn't going to help the leak either. You know how we'll fix that leak? We'll plug it up with a giant cluster bomb. Yeah, we'll just shoot it right at it. You know, I'm just kidding. So are you gonna bring up something else, by the way? You want to keep?
No, it's on you. Oh,
it's on me.
Yep. Otherwise, we go into some weird, strange, dark corners of the internet.
Strange, dark corners. Let's throw this up here. This is recent news from this past weekend. Let's see here. Get this freaking white bar out of the way. Thank you. There we go. So, am I still connected, by the way?
Yep, you're up.
Okay. Daughter of Alexander Dugin is killed in a car bombing near Moscow. Alexander Dugin, for those of you who do not know, is a very nationalist, sentimented type individual, very pro-Russian. Some think that some of his opinions are very extreme. I have not listened to him enough to be able to really make that kind of a determination myself. But his daughter, he was supposed to be in the car that was killed, and they switched at the last second whenever they were leaving. I think they were leaving from an airport, if I'm not mistaken. I think this article goes over some of those details. But they switched vehicles, and they're on their way back from wherever, and the car that his daughter's in just explodes, and It is just brutal. And as you see this video here, again, we're not going to see the explosion. This is obviously the aftermath, because that wasn't on video for obvious reasons. So, and that's him there. That's Dugan there, and that's the car.
Like totally.
I mean, it's just fire.
Gone.
It's not even. I mean, it's not even. It's barely a car. I mean, there's another video of this where it's still popping and cracking and like blowing up still, and it was like 20 minutes after the fact. It's like, holy shit. I mean, this was meant to do all sorts of damage. Who done it? Oh, we're gonna get to that. Who done it? The video shows him obviously there. I already read that off, I guess. And that's his daughter. That's who was murdered. She died on Saturday. Let's see. Oh, it just keeps repeating itself. An explosive device presumably installed in the Toyota Land Cruiser went off on a public road, and the car caught fire. Female driver died at the scene. Investigators said all possible versions of the crime are being probed into. According, the explosion occurred while she was driving. Her father intended to ride along, but ended up in a whole different vehicle. So both of them were supposed to be offed. Let's see.
Carol first was she really in the car? By the way, hello, Carol.
Was she really in the car? I mean, I don't know. Do you? Do you know, Carol? Like, yeah. I mean, we have Western and Russian sources both saying she was killed. So, I have no clue.
Killed by.
And so here's killed by. Yeah, right, exactly. Because again, Dugan was the target. Dugan is on a list, and I'll go over this too. He's on a list along with other Western people by the government of Ukraine. Pardon me. By the government of Ukraine, they put out a list of people that are Russian propagandists and people from the United States and Britain and other places. Yes, winning reality. She was driving. Yeah, she was driving the car. So she wasn't riding. She was actually driving the car, according to the sources here. But Dugan is on a list of people that Ukraine has said that they are enemies of Ukraine and they are Russian propagandists. So, yeah. And allegedly, some of these people have already been, well, not allegedly, they have been, according to some sources, I believe. I can't find the names right now, but I'll put that up a later time. That some of those people on that list have already been killed. And so there's Dugan, another one. And I think it's been like maybe 3 or 4. I think Dugan's daughter now is going to be the 4th. Again, obviously he was the one that was being targeted. Oh, well, right. Yeah, it was put under the car. So somebody, when they were traveling or wherever they were going, however it was, they put it under the car. Yeah. So let me throw this article up from.
While he's doing that,
website.
If you have to ground yourself and set a timer before you use a device, because if you've been using it too much, welcome to the crowd. I'm pretty sure most of us sit on these computers and devices all way too long and way too often. Oh, there it is.
Okay, so let me scroll down here. Here we go. There he is there. There's a better picture of him. Alexander Dugan is his name. Dugan is 60. He is what might be called a radical traditionalist, as well as a Eurasianist. Eurasianist, that's what it is, yeah. Or neo-Eurasianist. That is, he seeks the establishment of a bloc of comprising of former Soviet Union allies and the likes of Iran and Turkey to be able to break the global hegemony of the U.S.-led West and lay down a new multipolar status quo. Dugin strongly supported the annexation of Crimea. He's a Russian nationalist guy. And of course, there's another video of the fire there. Just keeps going. I'll mute this. I mean, that was intense, people. I mean, that was like that was a major bomb there. So the Russian authorities said an explosive device. This is a quote. An explosive device was placed on the underside of the car on the driver's side, and confirmed that his daughter, who was behind the wheel, obviously died at the scene, according to the statement quoted by Reuters news agency. The investigation believes that the crime was planned in advance and was of a contractual nature, they added. Maria Zakharova, the Russian Foreign Ministry's main spokeswoman, implied Ukraine was a suspect of involvement in the blast, saying that an investigation was still underway, but that if the Ukrainian trace is confirmed, then we are talking about the policy of state terrorism implemented by the Kiev regime, according to TASS, which is a Russian investigative thing, I guess. Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo, I don't know, Podolyak.
Nice try. It's okay.
Oh, well, what? Can you speak Russian?
No, that's what this guy.
Anyways. Meanwhile, has insisted that, quote, Ukraine, of course, had nothing to do with this because we are not a criminal state like the Russians are, they said. Because although he did describe Dugin's death as an example of karmic retribution for supporters of the invasion. Oh, wow. A little bit of trolling there from him, obviously, because they didn't have anything to do with that. So the Ruskies are saying that twas a Ukrainian woman, and I can't find this, but I read this earlier. This twas a Ukrainian woman. I don't know. I don't know enough about Dugin. I kind of doubt that, though, from what I do know. But the Russians are saying that this is a Ukrainian woman who came across the border from Russia. They gave her name. They gave her name, actually. The Russians said they gave her name. And they said that it was for her. She came across the border with a child. She said she was a refugee from Ukraine, so she was undercover. She went through with a child. Obviously, gee, this kind of sounds familiar. Like, the drug lordy people from, America using children to get across the border. Like, oh, I'm their daddy, I'm their whatever. And then they get across the border, right? Like, well, that's what this woman did. And so she's an agent, and she was for Ukraine, and agent for Ukraine. She went across the border, according to the Russians, went across the border with a child, claiming that, oh, I'm a refugee, went across, eventually made her way through and up to Moscow and did the deed. And now they claim that she is on her way out, and she is now in Lithuania. Or was it Latvia? Anyway, one of those bulldogs.
Carol said, wonder why he switched cars.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're these like super ginormously rich, ritzy people. I don't think. I mean, she was driving the thing. I mean, so, I mean, I don't know. That's just how it worked. Some people, they switch cars, some people they don't. I don't know. I mean, I know where she's trying to get at, which is, like all the Ruskies are bad and all that. But, I mean, we really don't know why, all these things, whatever. I don't think that he would actually, kill his own daughter over this. Because obviously of what I heard, it's not like he's this horrible, evil monster. But again, I know like all these people that, like their own country of Russia are evil. But I'm going to go with the reality of, well, I don't know exactly why they switched cars, but hey. Oh, not switch cars, pardon me. It wasn't a switch. There were multiple vehicles. He wasn't driving. He was riding along in another vehicle, and she was driving that one. And I mean, I don't know if anybody else was killed in the car or not, but we do know that she was driving that one. Again, I don't know all the context of all the things. Like, was that their personal car? Was that whatever? It's not like they were being chauffeured. Like they were driving. Like she was driving the thing. So I don't know.
TR says it's common practice when transporting high-value targets.
Well, yeah, but they weren't being transported. I mean, that's the thing. They were driving. She was driving the thing. Like they're driving themselves. Like I guess he was supposed to be driving the car. But then he was like, I don't know, maybe he just didn't feel well. And so he was going to ride along with somebody else in another vehicle, maybe have a chat with them about something or whatever. And then she was going to take the other car and she was just going to be the driver. I don't know. Maybe he had too much to drink. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where they came from exactly. But it's not like they're being transported or they're being chauffeured. I mean, these were their own, like it was him and his daughter that were supposed to be the drivers of the thing, So, anywho's. So that's what's happened with that. And let me pull up the other. Do I have this pulled up?
Waiting on you.
Do I have another thing? I don't have the other thing, do I? I thought I got that. Hold on a minute.
Come on, you know the thing.
The thing. You think? Yeah, the thing.
Got
there
that
we
thing?
go.
There it is.
I got that thing. The thingy, the article, this is Newsweek. Tulsi Gabbard. This is from a week ago, mind you. I think, right? Right? Or was it updated a week ago? Wait a minute. When was this? Hold up.
He's like, no, never mind. That's too old.
Well, no. What the hell? The thing says a week ago, but then it introduces it as being said it's a week ago, but then it says it was written
while he's figuring out his thing. Hello, Super V.
Whatever.
Hello, M. How you doing? A couple people that have appeared recently. So I've noticed. I like to try catching most everybody. If I've missed you,
hello.
I'll say hi to you eventually. Can't see him. Are we supposed to be able to hear him?
Who?
Okay, just being sure.
Huh?
Are we supposed to be able to hear him?
Him? Oh, no. The hell with him. I mean, now.
Live in public. What's up, man? There you go. Thanks for reminding me.
This guy is a money whore. Just saying. But the article is about Tulsi Gabbard, Rand Paul placed on list of Russian propagandists by Ukraine. And this was originally written in July. It says, I guess it was updated a week ago. I guess that's why it said on the thing when I first clicked on it that it said it was a week ago. Whatever. It means the same thing. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul and former Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard have been listed by Ukraine among a number of American politicians, academics, and activists. Kiev's claims have promoted, quote, Russian propaganda The list was completed by the Ukrainian Center for Countering Disinformation, founded in 2021 by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to study the impact of Russian disinformation. The center is part of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council. The list, which includes retired U.S. Army Colonel Douglas McGregor, this guy is awesome, by the way. Everybody should look up that name right there, Douglas McGregor. Right there, right there. You see that name? See that name right there, right? Right? Wait. There it is. There it is. Douglas
not Zelensky.
McGregor. Right. Douglas McGregor. What the hell? Anyway, that guy's awesome. Also, military strategist Edward Lutwak, political scientist John Mersheimer, journalist Glenn Greenwald, ladies and gentlemen. It does not explain what the consequences for those who Ukraine clearly considers responsible for promoting the Kremlin's line, but it offers explanations for inclusion on the list. In April, Paul said President Joe Biden provoked Russia to invade its neighbor by advocating Ukraine's entrance into NATO. He also said, you could also argue the countries they've attacked were part of Russia or part of the Soviet Union. Paul was immediately rebuked. Well, this is kind of out of context here, ladies and gentlemen. Paul was immediately rebuked by Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, which obviously Blinken. By the way, did you know that Anthony Blinken's parents, speaking of Anthony Blinken's parents worked directly for George Soros? Did anybody know that? They have a foundation that is funded by George Soros. It actually has their name, the Blinkens, on that organization. You can look that up for yourself as to all the details of that, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Just a little quick bit there. Maybe we'll go over that at some point. Former Representative Gabbard said the U.S. had provoked Putin for many years. I mean, we know that. I mean, anybody that's listened to Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, obviously she's completely anti-war to all this stuff. The biolab claims have been supported by Glenn Greenwald. They're not claims. Who Ukraine says didn't want the U.S. to help Ukraine to avoid provoking Russia into a nuclear war. Of course, we all know McGregor is listed having said that the Russian army, highly skilled and invincible. I mean, that's a misquote there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Newsweek. Well, Mersheimer is on Ukraine's blacklist for having said NATO provoked Vladimir Putin into war. Let's scroll down a little more. This isn't really relevant. Are they going to mention Dugin in this? Because Dugin's on that list. There we go. Newsweek has contacted Greenwald and Lutwak for comment. As well as U.S. citizens, the list of Russian propagandists includes political figures, expert and public figures from Germany, Switzerland, Brazil, Poland, and France. Other Americans are on the list. The other Americans that are on the list are political and business advisor Harlan Ullman, author Paul Pillar, economists Jeffrey Sachs and Steve Hanke, political or Hanke or whatever, I don't know how the hell to pronounce that. Political analyst Brian Barlatek, academics Patrick Bashman, Clifford Gurikoff, former Army officer David Payne, ex-diplomat Michael Springman, retired officer Scott Ritter, and on it goes. So,
Super V says, what is the point of this list?
Well, the point of the list is for the Ukrainians to, point out, again, it's an it's the you are a Russian propaganda person list. And again, it's like, why are they doing it with all these foreign people? Well, as I just said, the list is very extensive, and Dugin is on that list. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there are like 3 to 4 others that have been killed on that list. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dugin's daughter might be the 4th, even though Dugin was the target. I think hers, and again, don't quote me on that, but I think that's true.
So
Everything that I've been hearing.
real quick. M says, as you claim to be for freedom, yet your mind, everything Russia says is true, but the country that's fighting for is always the liar. Who's the commie here? I'm done with your propaganda. She has the rights to her own opinions and stuff. So, I mean, we're going to actually allow her to have her opinions as well.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean,
I've already addressed everything. I'm not going to go back over everything. Those who have followed me understand my position and why I have that. To go into the details would take the time in which it took to make the videos that I made on them, which you can find over on Rumble. If you want a little bit more of a fuller explanation.
So, I mean, as far as it goes, it's just like, you read one side of the thing, you read the other side of the story, and then you kind of come up with the best thought in your mind at the time of what could actually be happening. And
I didn't say, and I've never said that every singular thing that's ever come from the Russians is the most accurate thing on planet Earth. Like, that's never left my lips. Nothing of the sort has. So that's a straw man. So this whole, complete straw man stuff.
You get just right. Every side of the story is pretty much propaganda, and it's really dependent.
And again, a lot of this is surrounded by the fog of war,
right.
as you said. What's true and what's not. But over time, as things have progressed, all of these claims of the Ukrainian side of this perspective have been over and over again been proven wrong. And even the mainstream media has come out and been like, okay, yeah, that thing that we said that was the Russians, that was actually Ukrainians that did that, the Ukrainian army that did that. So
my thoughts real quick. We go right straight, very back to the very beginning of the show and to the thumbnail. The point of modern propaganda isn't only to push an agenda, it is to exhaust your critical thinking, to annihilate truth. There would be no game of chess if the pawns were free to play. Just saying. That's pretty
there's
much,
Sparkle. Sparkle has a great point there. Rand Paul explains why he single-handedly blocked 40 billion in Ukraine aid. Interesting. Yeah. With that, and see, this is what people are discussing. This is what some people are talking about. Is this good? Because everybody looks at this global stage right now, and everybody kind of sees this as being a World War I type scenario. I know people are like, oh, World War II. It's not World War II over again. It's not World War II. It's World War I type scenarios over again. And now we're getting to the point of these escalations as was before World War I. And then all of a sudden, Archduke Ferdinand is assassinated, And then here we have Dugin's daughter being assassinated. So now we're having assassinations taking place, right? And so this whole shit show could be set off by the Ukrainian people, let's say, or the agents for them, or the government. I mean, again, we already know that the U.S. is involved in this. We pulled up an article again from 2015 that it was released by the CIA. Oh yeah, we are training people in Ukraine to do this stuff. We're involved with this stuff. We know where the money went to. They went into triple letter agency assets in Ukraine rather than Ukraine itself per se. Not that I'm in support of funding Ukraine itself, but I mean, if you're going to say you're going to fund Ukraine, why don't you actually do that? But no, you don't going to do that. You're going to fund the majority of it goes to the triple letter agencies. And so we already know they're involved in all this kind of stuff. And we already know NATO itself is involved in all these goings on. They're funding weapons. And so if assassinations start to happen on either side of this or on other people, I mean, Koolfrogg, someone else on that list is the Pink Floyd guy that we watched a little bit ago. What's his name? Forget his name now. The guy from the band Pink Floyd that we watched that was on CNN, the British guy, right? Forget his name now. Crap. Everybody
know.
knows what I'm talking about, right? Right. The Pink Floyd guy.
I'm confused. Ask me that question again.
Guy that he's like Roger Waters. That's who it is. Pink Floyd co-founder Roger Waters, who was on CNN, reading the CNN guy, the Riot Act, about the stuff with Ukraine and Russia. And, like they were sitting in couches, or not couches, chairs across from one another. And they were doing it to each other. The other guy was wearing round glasses. The guy was bald, but this guy's the Pink Floyd guy, the band guy that had the British accent. That dude, Roger Waters, is on the list as well, along with other politicians and people. And so people are sitting around speculating, assassinations start to go off. Are we going to see some sort of a World War I type scenario where everybody's dragged into this? Because again, NATO is this entangling alliance. An attack on one is an attack on all, which is the most globalist, new world ordery type bullshit you've ever heard in your life. Which is, again, it's the way it's supposed to be, because that's the way that they wanted it. So all these entangling alliances, and then people start getting assassinated, and then everybody starts taking a side. Like that kind of thing. And obviously the lines are already kind of drawn, right? Like the NATO side, the Russia side, or other sides that would support Russia, the BRICS side, you could say.
Give yourself a tag mark at about an hour and 55 minutes ish to get your comment back after we're done, so you can hear what was being said. She said that her Chrome died just after she heard after Zort says. That sucks. Give yourself about an hour and 55 minutes in or whatever to kind of come around, roughly around there. Maybe start a few minutes before that to catch what we had said to your statement.
And again, Russia could react.
Hello, Toybox Brain. I kind of agree with him. I mean, atomic weapons are going to be the true World War III. I mean, there's going to be some amazing things that everybody's going to see when it really gets down deep into what we're going through. Because I believe that World War III is kind of already started. We just don't realize it yet.
I mean,
and we're not going to name it that until it's over, right? You don't get to name it until it's already over. You'd be like, oh, that was World War III.
And again, Russia could respond with an assassination. I mean, God only knows how this could go. I'm not saying that the assassination of Dugin's daughter is the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand per se, but if the precedent is being set that major political leaders from different nations and major cultural leaders from different nations are the hell. But if major cultural leaders and political leaders and other different individuals from different nations of these different sides of this conflict are just going to start being popped off and being assassinated and blown up, I mean, Russia could just as easily respond and be like, oh, okay, we're going to assassinate one of yours, tough crap, and be like, oh, so I mean, could be
nice.
Could be anything.
If Ukraine was part of NATO, we would already be at war with Russia. So I'm not really agreeing with the World War I. Says Memento Mori.
I mean, we can be picky about analogies, but I think most reasonable people that understand what I'm trying to say, I'm not saying that you're entirely unreasonable there. I'm just saying I think that comment is a little bit unreasonable with the analogies, because, I mean, we can take analogies so far, until the analogy runs its course and doesn't do what you want it to. But just in general, the whole look of this, the whole feel of this, the whole of the entangling alliances thing and on and on and on. And now you have an assassination. Again, history doesn't exactly point by point repeat itself, it rhymes. It rhymes. So, well, yeah. I mean,
Yep.
it would be.
I kind of agree with that. Exactly. Ukrainians are being used as a pawn by both sides, or all sides. Because how many sides of the are we playing 4D chess, or are we just playing checkers? I kind of think that we're kind of deeper into the 4D chess. We're gonna hide that, but that's an awesome thought. Succulent Chinese meal. We totally could totally do that. I'm gonna view it so that this is we can take out remove somebody like Hillary Clinton if they want.
Oh my God.
There's a different word.
I know
in there
everybody in the United States should be cheering in Minecraft. In Minecraft. Only in Minecraft. But yeah, I mean, like, Ukraine is a pawn for NATO in all of this, obviously.
Just because I don't want Hillary coming after me, that's why we're gonna keep it blocked.
Yeah.
In Minecraft.
And so, though right now I don't think that, Russia is using Ukraine as a pawn in anything, I do think NATO is doing that right now, but that Russia would feel justified and then using that then to then go after other, NATO allied nations and other people like that in more Western Europe, if it would actually spark up and go crazy, and at which point then Ukrainian people there are just going to get run over because, well, now it's sparked into a larger war.
Only if they bring back the winged hussars. The winged hussars were awesome.
The winged hussars.
Just saying.
Yep.
I love those. I love them horses.
Very
Those
interesting
horses.
history there.
They look very dangerous and scary. Come riding up the countryside. I could imagine. Only if that's what happens. They bring back the winged hussars. I'd be like, yes. So, did you have anything else?
Okay. Oh, I have another thing here of interest. This is. Let me pull this up. Okay. Throw this up on the screen here. Can you see that? Or do I need to zoom up?
Okay. Hold on 1 second. I'm out of there for a second. Just because we're speaking of international news, I'm going to throw something else at them real quick before we go to that.
Oh, okay.
That'll be a great, come up next. Fans from Canuckistan. Here you go. Saskatchewan Minister Jeremy Cockrell was sent a warning to the Trudeau government that officers sent to Ottawa will be arrested if they continue to pass on farmland to test nitrogen levels. Oh, you don't say. Really? They're going to sneak it around and they're just doing what they want without asking for permission? According to Cockrell, Trudeau's government has been unlawfully sending federal employees into Saskatchewan farmlands to test the nitrogen levels without the consent of the landowners. In the letter, the minister raised multiple complaints from Saskatchewan farmers that raised serious concerns about Government of Canada employees. It clearly marked Government of Canada vehicles on private lands. The farmers reporting these trespasses made clear that these government agents did not request permission to access the land and were not in any other manner given consent to access it.
Oh, hold on a second. Scroll back up to that picture, by the way. Just as some background with this, okay? For those of you who don't know how plants operate, plants generally need a certain amount of nitrogen. Actually, that helps the plants. I mean, again, I know this is controversial now in today's world, but plants that are very green and very healthy have a lot of nitrogen. I mean, when the hell did nitrogen become a terrible thing? Oh, wait, whenever they wanted to, erase crop yields for people to starve you. That's when. Because gotta get that depop. Gotta get that depop in. Oh God, Sparkle! I better take that down. Sparkles is going to get a visit by the FBI. You cannot be in promotion of nitrogen. Nitrogen is bad. You can't have any nitrogen, ladies and gentlemen. Fertilizer, nitrogen, you can't have it. No, because that means you can grow food, and that's not allowed. Only eat the bugs. You see how in your face this is? Do you understand why the Dutch people are so enraged right now? Because most of their exports, they're the third largest exporter of food, I think, in the world at this point. Or was it just in Europe? I mean, they're a major exporter of food, the Netherlands, the Dutch. Can you understand why they're pissed off as hell right now? And why everybody's out in the streets? Because you're gonna make nitrogen illegal. That means we're all going to starve to death. We're not only going to not be able to make money and sell food and sell products like that. We're not going to be able to feed cattle. We're not going to be able to feed anything. We're going to starve to death. And notice the WEF is just sitting there laughing in your face, and then just secretly, with all these mega corporations, sneaking in grasshopper grinds into your food. Ground up powdered grasshopper exoskeletons into your food. That's toxic to you, by the way, but they don't care because, it's the bugs. I mean, it's so in your face. It's so in your face.
So the only other sentence that I really wanted to take out of here is this one. The Trespass on Property Act warned that these actions could carry them serious penalties, including fines up to $200,000 or up to 6 months in prison. I mean, go ahead, try coming on my land, see what happens. Because seriously, if that was if this was the way this was here in the United States, and
I know,
people
look at
were
the
actually
green that's there. You see the green? See the green?
it ain't going to be no
it's very-
$200,000. It is not going to be 6 months in prison. It's going to be a shotgun upside the head. Just saying.
In Minecraft, of course.
Right, in Minecraft.
Of course.
Just in Minecraft.
Always.
So
it's always just in Minecraft, folks.
We're going to continue with this conversation about nitrogen here in a second. I got to address something from M. Swartz. She says, the day I snap will come, I'm afraid Cool won't think that I'm as sweet anymore. As far as that goes, you have the right to your opinion. And I'm not going to ever tell you that you can't have your right to your opinion. So regardless to what you say, how you say it, I always see as being the sweet lady called M. Just saying.
M.
So, let's see. I think there was a couple people that had actually said something to do with the article. This stuff writes itself, says when in reality, I have healthy prickly pear on my property. Oh, it's awesome, Debbie. Air is 80% ish nitrogen, says the succulent Chinese meal.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The air is made of nitrogen, just like there's carbon dioxide. I mean, all of these things are needed for nature to exist. And they just keep claiming that it's all bad and that you can't use any of it and that you can't have any participation in it. But it's okay. Eat the bugs, live in the pods, wear 15 masks around your face, take 545 jabs a day.
That's not what's on
and
the
just
screen.
Sit there in the Matrix, in the metaverse. I mean, it's just so in your face. Q. AmericaShirts Bill Gates prison. Oh. Oh.
And he went totally off the other way and did some other impression. Mitch McConnell doesn't want you to eat bugs. Canada's really becoming a hot mess. Yeah. See what the U.S. government is doing to organic Amish farmers. That could be an interesting one. We could actually look into that one of these days in the near future. Anhydrous ammonia is a nitrogen crop fertilizer that does wonders to the soil, but must be applied with the utmost caution. True.
And again, so much fertilizer. Again, Russia, again, as we read in the article earlier, talked about how they're having a hard time getting their shipments out to their fertilizer and other different things. Again, for obvious reasons, they've been blocked from getting fertilizer out to a lot of the world because of this Ukraine thing. And so because of the sanctions on Russia, Russia is one of the single largest producers of fertilizer products in the world, in order for people to have that. And these are things that contain nitrogen and other different, elements of that nature, and I think phosphorus and other different things that plants need to grow. Food for you. Yum yums, num nums, right? So this whole thing with Russia too, we've talked about this before many times. This is a global effort to try and stop food production. Because again, the 2030 agenda, the depopulation, all of that, they have to get accomplished. They all have their marching orders from the WEF, the UN, Rockefeller Foundation, Y'all know who I'm talking about, the globalist people, Bilderberg people. They have their agenda out. 2030 is the date, is the deadline. The Great Reset has to be implemented. Nowza, and things have to start being done. Otherwise, they'll switch to plan B, which is, obviously they want civil unrest. Part of this is the civil unrest aspect of this as well, to overthrow the governments that are in place and then make sure to put in totalitarian ones, which then, will be underneath of Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and all of those people at the top there. So this is a part of a holistic plan, a holistic scheme by these individuals to starve you out, to make you weak, to make you angry at the governments as well, and to keep all this up and to keep all this going for total destabilization and their global governance. So, yeah, that's being very generalistic. I know I didn't get into any specifics, but that's kind of, you can fill in the pieces, you can fill in the gaps there. But anyways.
Okay, there you go.
Turning to other aspects of things, I found this interesting listening to this and finding out about this earlier today. Streaming beats cable as top U.S. TV service in the U.S. for the first time, August 22nd. Americans use streaming services more than cable TV for the first time ever in July of 2022, according to data from a new monthly study from Nielsen. The study, which analyzes how audiences consume content across delivery platforms, saw that streaming took the largest share at 34.8%, but only by a very small margin was cable TV followed with 34.4%. Broadcast TV placed third with 21.6%. Compared to data from June 2022, broadcast TV usage fell by 3.7 percentage points, whatever, while cable TV usage dipped only by 2%. So as you can see here this is a graph from the Nielsen, whatever. There's the streaming and there's the cable, and they're beating them. And if you look at the percentages of the streaming, HBO and Disney are at the lowest here. And again, their numbers are fudged. Disney and HBO's numbers are completely fudged because HBO is in league with the cable. Disney is in league with the cable, so their numbers are fudged. Hulu's numbers are fudged. Netflix's numbers are fudged. Prime's, I don't know. YouTube's, probably not. And so you see YouTube and other streaming for other internet platforms and so forth. Other streaming is at the top. So YouTube isn't even at the top, according to this. Other streaming is at the top. So you know what this means, ladies and gentlemen, that it is official now, according to their own studies, that people don't listen to cable news anymore. The majority of people don't listen to cable news for, well, their news. They don't.
1/10,000th of a percent, BLT. 1/10,000th of a percent.
Oh, yeah. What percentage? Yeah. Yeah, they weren't. They were around for 3 weeks, I think. Anyways, and now their whole place is going to hell, so yay. But I was talking to the expert earlier today, and we were chit-chatting, and he was talking about how, YouTube has flagged certain well, not flagged, has, age restricted some things and so forth from other videos that he's had because of their political content or what, not even necessarily their political content. No, it's not their political content. It's just a thing that happened that now has been politicized. And so, I mean, it was kind of a political event, but he wasn't politically covering it per se, right? Like he was just covering the event that was taking place. And they age restricted it for obvious reasons because it's a sort of more objective perspective on what happened with that certain event that was political and now has been completely and totally metastasized and absolutely used as a weapon. They flag, I keep saying that. They age restricted it. And it was like, man, he was saying, like, oh man, like this is, I mean, it's just, they're just coming after everything now. It's like, that's been there for a long time. These videos been out for a while. And now all of a sudden they've decided to age restrict this. What in the world? And you want to know why? You want to know why? Because they realize, and now it's official, that we don't get our news from the establishment sources anymore. Again, YouTube does nothing but promote establishment sources all the time because that's where they get most of their money. And of course, YouTube and Google are in league with all these people as well, with the Great Reset and all the rest of that. So their agenda is not being heard as much. Their brainwashing is being tuned out and turned off. So they're going to go crazy and they're going to start to stir up some shit. And in the process of that, they're going to try to ban the rest of us off of mainstream platforms from doing anything. Because you can't be on here because, well, sorry, but they need to hear the authoritative sources, the government confirmed ones, You cannot have your opinion. And so all the mainstream platforms, probably before the midterms, I can guarantee you, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll be glad if I'm wrong, but they're probably going to come up with some excuse. They're going to try to do something crazy. They're going to say, oh my golly, terrorista, you're a terrorista because somebody else was being a terrorista that claimed to be associated with your political party, da-da-da. And everybody's getting kicked off because they cannot have this. Independent streaming, again, other streaming is taking the top even over all of the rest of their mainstream platforms. Within this poll itself, and again, these numbers are fudged, as I said, but even with that, the independent streaming is still taking up the majority, and then YouTube, and it says including YouTube TV, like people sit around and watch YouTube TV, but like there's YouTube and there's that, so that's like what, 17% there, and then all the rest of these numbers are kind of fudged, but it's still, I mean, they're losing the airwaves. We're winning the airwaves. So they're going to try to do something to win back the airwaves because that's how they get the propaganda. That's how they brainwash you. That's how they get you to believe that Alex Jones is a bad guy because Alex Jones is no longer on any of these platforms as he's being litigated against. So he's not allowed to speak for himself. There was another guy that was kicked off everything. He was wiped from almost everything. I think he only has like some sort of business presence on YouTube at this point. Andrew Tate is this guy's name. And I don't agree with everything that he has said, but that doesn't even matter. He shouldn't be banned and kicked off everything. But here we go again now. People are being banned. People are being completely wiped off. And they're going to do it to everybody. Now, I hope I am wrong about the timing of this, but I don't think that I am. I think probably by before the midterms, so like maybe October time, perhaps, they're going to try to ban everybody off the platforms, off all mainstream platforms that the authorities, quote unquote, have control over. The elites have control over. And they're going to shut off those avenues of speech like this one that you're listening to on YouTube. They're going to claim that Koolfrogg isn't actually a frog. And they're going to say he's faking it, so he needs to go.
There's a couple good questions here for us. So here's a comment on this. Have you ever looked at the trusted news projects where the only truth is what the government says?
Oh yeah,
I mean, before you go and answer that, Carol Forrest says, "Where do I find AmericaShirts stream?" At Rumble. You go and hit that Rumble page. There's a link down in the description. You go down below. You hit that link. You go over to Rumble. When you're there, you subscribe to me. You subscribe to him. Anything that I do here that gets removed from YouTube because of YouTube's terms and services is there. There's plenty of stuff there, and yes, check him out over on the Rumble side. There's quite a bit of stuff that he actually goes through, and it's very interesting.
Winning reality, yes. They're going to claim that Koolfrogg isn't actually Koolfrogg. It's the latest one. They're going to claim that he's Pepe the Frog.
He's actually Pepe.
He said actually the Koolfrogg. He's actually Pepe the Frog.
Not
You're
true.
a band. You know what?
Done.
I just thought about that for a second. You
go
know what?
away.
They
No,
actually
I'm just kidding.
will. They actually will. Because Pepe is
Don't go
considered
away.
to be
I
a
really enjoy you
racist
being
trope.
around.
It's considered to be like a racist thing or whatever. And it's like, what the hell? It's a frog. But they claim that it's supposed to be a racist thing. So they're going to claim, Koolfrogg, that you're a conservator and a Republican, and that you are a racist because you're using the name Frog. That implies Pepe the Frog, which means you're racist, which means you're a bigot, which means goodbye, YouTube. I guarantee you that this is probably going to be a thing that comes up. If wrong, I'm wrong.
The 2Gs makes it adult content.
Oh, there you go. See. I mean, literally. But seriously, people.
I think there should be a question mark after your Maniac's sentence there. Is Koolfrogg isn't actually a frog? I think it should be Koolfrogg isn't actually a frog.
But think about it, folks. They'll do that. They'll pull that kind of shit. Winning reality is right. They'll pull it. They'll pull that shit, and they'll say, he's trying to impersonate Pepe the Frog or whatever. He's trying to be
Robin.
this Pepe the Frog person. He's a racist. He's a Republican conservator. He's whatever. He needs to be kicked off. I mean, God, they'll probably use my comments, saying that, oh my God, he's pro-Russian. He needs to die. I mean, kicked off the platform, allegedly, in Minecraft. And so, goodbye. I mean, we're joking, but they'll do it. I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, hell, how many times have other people been kicked off platforms for stupid shit? Where it's like, well, you're associated with this person, or like you have like this thing that seems racist, and so I'm gonna like file this thing against you, and then okay, you're gone, bye. I mean, they'll do it. I mean, it's hysterical to think about. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. But that's where these people are at. That's how desperate they are. They'll do it. They'll actually do it. So the solution to this is go subscribe on Rumble and Logos.
Yes.
Ooh, salty.
When you hit those links down below, those local sites, eventually And I know I've been saying this for a while, but I've actually found something that I'm going to actually try producing to actually put over there. I've had a couple people say that they'd be interested in me doing so. I'm just trying to find a day of the week that I'm going to actually do it. Y'all noticed that I actually took the day off yesterday. It's going to be a thing. It's going to be a no Sunday. Just saying. That's pretty much what it's going to come down to.
Oh, by the way, Carol, how much do you want to bet that half of this other streaming percentage is just Salty Crackers stream on Rumble? How much do you want to bet that like half of that percentage is counted for being Salty Army? I'm assuming she's Salty Army, hence all of these salt shakers. Most people that are Salty Army people have salt shakers that they use a lot. But anyway.
Right.
So go to the alternative platforms. There's Getter, there's Truth Social, there's Rumble, there's Locals. These places are fantastic. Go over there.
I'm telling you that now. We're not done. We got plenty to go. Assuming you're feeling all right yet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine.
So,
I'm fine,
okay.
honey, I'm fine. You just keep going.
Wisconsin School Board voted in favor of a policy banning pride flags and BLM flags in the classrooms due to what school leaders say is political messaging. Teachers will not have political flags or religious messaging in their classroom or on their person. I mean, it kind of, some of it you could kind of think, oh, well, really? Even religious messaging? So if the teacher walks in the classroom and he or she has a cross on or whatever, is that considered political messaging? Potentially.
I mean, right. Like, where does that setup go? And I love the idea. I know this is controversial to some people, but I love the idea of having schools that are controlled by the local area where if they want to be Christian, they can. They don't have to, because the federal government and state governments are not allowed to force, or excuse me, to establish a religion for everybody to follow. Even though we have the evolutionary theory as that religion and atheism as that religion, and following the New World Order and Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab as that religion, and like all this weird Gnostic stuff, and like, oh, we can like promote Islam and whatever the hell, but don't you dare promote Christianity, you SOB.
Right.
So, but I like this radical idea of like, local places being able to fund their own schools so they are able to teach their children whatever the hell that they feel is necessary for them to.
When in reality, yeah, or a rainbow sticking out of their nose. Exactly. Wisconsin schools are going to be great.
Right. But I think this is a good step, but I don't know if that precedent per se is necessarily as you say before, like you can wear a cross around your neck, right? Like, if you have a crucifix, you wear a crucifix. Exactly. Like, huh?
Back at you. Krog with 2 G's.
Krog.
What the heck?
Is it Croak with a K? He's a Krog that croaks like that.
So I actually started a couple comments from earlier, and I did it on purpose because I didn't want to do it in the middle of what we were actually currently doing. And I figured after I spoke of classrooms in Wisconsin, I could speak of classrooms in that TR had actually brought up. Plum City school teachers have been on strike since Monday and failed to reach an agreement tonight. School was supposed to start today. So then he says apparently their $74,000 a year salary isn't good enough. I don't know. That's what the news story I read said. It's very interesting that Columbus schools are actually in session, though they were actually supposed to start today. That could be very interesting to see how far that actually goes. uh, just thought it was is interesting. I didn't want to leave out your statements. What the heck is this? Look at that. K-frog, cool frog, you silly guys. You know, that's not what you said. There was no F in there. It just simply said Krog.
Winning Reality is going to make this happen.
Krog Jam.
He's going to make that happen. You watch. He'll make it happen.
That's fun. That's so much fun. Ashley says, I went to school. Some firms were a must, and I'm not against it. I'm for it. Why? Schools should be about what is being taught and not about what you're wearing. That's my opinion. I agree with you. I really do. There's some things about this education system that needs to totally change. Uniforms and, you know, just simply teaching just, you know, this, what we used to call the 3 R's, the reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, it's really sad and disturbing how far these schools have actually gone. And to see somebody like, you know, the Wisconsin School Board actually going to the, actually removing all political gestures and, you know, saying that you can't bring in BLM flags or, you know, rainbow flags or whatever else. Great. Awesome. Take it out. Remove it. Stop teaching the crap that we don't need to be teaching our kids. We're going to move along with this, you know, fairly quickly here because we're getting to the 2.5 hour mark, and usually by the time we hit 3 hours, we end up start losing quite a few people. So let's see how fast we can move through.
Fast. Go.
Well, not that fast.
Oh, okay. Well,
we'll do this.
That's right.
So you get to see how many tabs I actually have open when I actually do a show. There you go. $27 million class action lawsuit announced in the Uvalde victims and survivors. It says we intend to do so is to help serve the community, and that is to file a $27 billion civil rights lawsuit under the United States Constitution, one of a kind in the whole world. That's ridiculous. Holy man, it says a B.
Billion.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to actually accept that. Emma had said uniforms would fix most of the stupidity. The boys who say their girls won't want to wear those ugly gym jumpers.
Oh God, that should just be school dress. Period. Like, yeah, you can't come to school like that. That's indecent. Sorry, it's just just should be the way it is. Sorry, it is indecent.
We can kind of delve into it a little further to see exactly why they did it, but we can kind of figure it out. I think we have a half a brain on top of our heads that can actually put 2 and 2 together and realize why the Uvalde school has such a lawsuit coming against them.
Now, Koolfrogg, Alex Jones went to trial for this. Now, are you sure you want to suggest that the police did something that maybe they,
I didn't suggest anything.
Should have been doing, or whatever?
I didn't suggest anything. All I suggested is we can all kind of think about it for a couple seconds and realize why such a class action lawsuit may actually come across. I'm not throwing any propaganda at anybody. I'm just trying to get people to actually think for what.
Oh, okay. You think that they put balloon heads on places for people? That's what you think. That's. I mean, Koolfrogg is like super conspiratorial over here, folks. He needs to be taken off YouTube.
Yeah. Robin.
I mean, there's totally not a billion billion 27 billion dollar class action lawsuit against these people. It totally doesn't exist. We're just reading off some rando thing he probably just made on Microsoft Word or something. I mean,
yeah, no, this comes from ksat.com. some
Yeah, your news
website.
website, whatever. I mean, we totally know where this is going.
Yeah,
You're gonna
stop it.
be held in contempt and default, sir. You
Look at
don't
that.
deserve any.
Look at a horrible that is. Ford announces a 3,000 job cuts to prioritize electric vehicle lineup. Cost reductions will happen because they need to actually reduce the cost of everyday use of the factory or whatever. So as opposed to eliminating certain aspects of anything else, they're going to actually just cut the jobs. You're like, we don't need to get 3,000
Exactly.
jobs.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly. That's what this is all about.
People don't need jobs.
Right. It's unemploy you to tell you, oh, a robot's going to do your job. And then on top of that, again, they're literally going to shove you off a cliff and turn off the electric grid. It's like, so you're going to be left unemployed, you can't make money, and then we're going to turn the power off and the infrastructure off and then take everything for ourselves. I mean, it's a total siege warfare going on here by these globalist people. You're not allowed to have a job. You're not allowed to do anything if you don't wear 18,000 masks on your face, if you don't have 35,000 jabs, and if you're not a part of a certain political party. And, oh, gee, sorry. Well, I mean, we make these types of cars. No. We're going to make these others, and we don't need you because inflation's going up. I mean, this is a total multifaceted assault against us here. Okay? Like, let's just be clear. I mean, you're not, so they're firing you. Why? Oh, because we need to prioritize electric vehicles and bring down the cost. So you're a problem. Get out. That's what they're telling these people. These 3,000 people that had their jobs just cut. And so that income's now gone. And so everybody, and this won't be the last people. This won't be the last people Ford fires. This won't be the last amount of people that any of these mega corporation people are going to fire. They're going to fire tons and tons and tons of people. And because they can't afford to keep them. And because of all this shit that they're trying to do. But then they'll try to create all these electric vehicles with no infrastructure in place for these electric vehicles, which means that you're just going to have a bunch of useless electric vehicles sitting around that nobody's going to be able to drive because there's no charging stations, there's no nothing. And then the electric grid can't even take the charging stations, and so they're going to take us off of the, they're going to take us off the damn electric grid because the electric grid, because they're going to take us off of coal, and we're going to do this. Well, that can't sustain that. That can't sustain the amount of electricity needed to make the cars. So the entire way through this, as you see, the only end result is everything being shut down, everything being turned off, infrastructure, electric grid, all of that gone, totaled, back to mid to late 1800s here.
Winning reality with the robot takeover. Yep, exactly. Because if we can just replace people with robots to take care of certain
parts of
the process.
It isn't even that because the factory won't even be able to work those robots because there's not going to be electricity, because they're not going to have enough electricity to sustain that and to sustain the cars moving and everything else, with no infrastructure for the cars to use anywhere hardly in the United States, and with everything being run off of wind and solar, which can't sustain that and generate enough electricity for that anyway, which means rolling blackouts, everything being shut down. I mean, again, this is what I'm talking about. They're shoving us all off a damn cliff. And they're going along with the ESG thing, the Great Reset. I mean, that's what this all is. And Biden is assisting in this. The Dems are assisting in this. Rhino Republicans are assisting in this. And so you need to get the rhinos out continuously, like we've been doing across the country. Thanks be to God. We're doing it. We're getting it done. And then, of course, obviously get rid of the Democrats. Impeach Joe Biden and his whole administration, and we could reverse so much of this and the influence that it has on our country by a lot. Even though corporations are already moving in this direction as well, we can reduce this by a whole crap ton. Impeach Joe Biden, impeach Harris, or whoever the hell else comes up, and then get a MAGA Republican to take the place of the president for a year and a half or so to ride this thing out until Trump gets in the next time around. We got to do it. We have to do that. We have to win the elections at every level. We have to take every seat. We have to take everything. I'm talking school boards, everything else. This is what Steve Bannon said. This is total political, social, and economic warfare in this regard. Cultural warfare type thing, right? We need to take every position, everything. We need to take dog catcher. Okay, we need MAGA people as dog catchers at this point. Okay, we need sheriffs, deputies, MAGA people. We need all of these people as MAGA people. Well, you don't hire sheriff's deputies, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I mean, we need local people to be MAGA people. We need all across the country. We need MAGA everywhere at every level. And then, of course, impeach Joe Biden. 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 Did I say that? I think I did. Impeach freaking Joe Biden.
I totally agree with impeaching Joe Biden. As far as the mega MAGA crap goes, I agree with it for the most. But make sure that you're paying attention to all of your local officials.
Well, yeah, just because somebody
Governors,
slaps MAGA
mayors,
doesn't mean they are.
commissioners, judges, school board members, all of that. Pay attention to who you're actually, voting for and why you're voting for them. Don't just vote down ticket. If you just don't know, don't do it. Don't vote for them. Leave it blank. You can vote part of that ticket. You don't have to fill it out completely. If you don't know who you're voting for, don't go and vote for it because you're like, oh, that's the right thing to do because I think that I should just vote down a ticket. That usually doesn't lead to anything good. Just saying. Pay attention to who
right,
you're
as I
actually
said, I
voting
mean,
for.
just because somebody claims something doesn't mean they are. You still have to look.
Right.
At
You still have to look.
What's
You
going
still have to pay
on?
attention.
What's happening? I mean, I would encourage people to. I mean, obviously, look up what's happening before you go to the ballot. Pardon me.
Later, Susie. Have a good one.
Before you go to the ballot box, you make sure, or before you go to the ballot place, the polling place, make sure that you know who every person is on that ballot.
Yeah.
I mean, just pure and simple. Yet you need to do your due diligence and make sure that you know who everyone is on that ballot. And make sure you know whether or not they're MAGA or not. And we're talking primary elections. We're talking everything. You need to pay high attention to everything because it's going to come down to your local sheriff looking at an ATF agent and going, hands in the air. You are in violation of the law, sir. It's probably going to come down to that in a lot of places.
Okay.
And a lot of
this one,
things.
even this one, like I said, judges. Same with retaining judges in states that put them on the ballot. Yep. Pay attention. Pay attention to all of that.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, oh, yeah, that's the right answer because it's the only one there. Nope. This is the only one there. Good chances that it's just as corrupt as any. So, I mean, really pay attention to who you're actually voting for.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely, Susie. Have a good one. Sleep well. Let's see here. Was kind of Ford appeals to appeal $1.7 billion verdict in the Georgia truck crash. Anybody that didn't hear about the truck crash or whatever is basically what happened is it was a rollover crash that ended up crushing the roof, dangerously defective roofs on Ford pickup trucks. And it sounds like this family is actually going after Ford for the 1.7 billion, and most likely, Ford's going to actually try going back on it and actually saying it's not defective. It just, the accident, the way it occurred, just so happened to do what it did. So it's be careful of, what you're actually purchasing. Know what you're purchasing and actually pay attention to what's going on in this world. You'd be surprised. I really, that's a lot of money. $1 billion. It could be very interesting what actually comes out of this. I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to say about it. Billion. Yep. No. Okay. So this one was kind of interesting. It says a woman was hiking with her friends in Columbus River Gorge in Oregon and has died due to the fall of 100 foot from the trail and sustained serious head injuries. I'm like, interesting, and thought it would be a good lead up to other stories. But I really don't know if I actually want to just cover the whole Kylie Riddle thing or Rodney thing. I think she deserves more than just a few words from us. So maybe we'll hold off on the Kylie Rodney stuff unless you really had a good thought. We'll give her a little bit more coverage. I know there's several people. The expert did thorough coverage of that today,
Oh yeah.
as well as several others. Looked like he dropped something recently between um, him and Mountain Girl actually did something together on it. She, like I said, I don't feel that I would do it any justice at almost 3 hour show. I
Yeah,
really
go over to
don't.
experts.
I feel that she deserves more. Right, exactly. Hit up the expert and check out the stuff that he has actually done in the last few days. Very extensive coverage. Used to think I was ugly, so that was why I dressed like make myself even more.
Oh, they're talking about themselves.
Yeah, they're all still talking about school stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, look at that. 1,200 scientists, scholars declare there's no climate emergency. Now, this isn't my words. This is just an article that I just so happened to find that I found fairly interesting. So, I'm not
What?
because there potentially could
Heresy!
be, but
Heresy! Burn them at the
over
stake. Burn them.
1,200 scientists saying
In
so
Minecraft.
is, I mean, did 98% of them agree? Because it seems to be the new way to do things is actually to take a poll and get a consensus on something as opposed to just using scientific method to figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
But,
Koolfrogg.
you
What the
know.
hell? We threw that out a long time ago. What are you talking about? Yeah. Don't you know science comes by a decree? It's like these. This is the new religion. This is the new Nicene Council of what is canon for Scripture, and they all just come together like, yep. We all agree. It's like, wait, but I thought this was science. Like, I thought this was a study of observation and thought things and so forth. And not to say that I'm not dissing religion in any way. It's just science is not a religious. It's not the body of science. It's not a thing of religion. You don't subscribe to it like you do being part of a church. It's science.
Short order cook 1,200 drowned while taking temps in the Antarctic.
Right. It's just whoopsie daisy. That's just what happens when you deny the climate. The climate strikes back at you, That is Mother Earth. She is having her way with them. And I'm not even saying that, like, what the previous statement that I was talking about, I'm not even saying that, like, science and religious thought can't have, any intermingling with each other. I mean, I think they do. But the scientific community is not a community of bishops and archbishops in a church to determine things or to have councils or whatever to be able to see what's canon for you to follow. Science doesn't go off of what's canon. Science goes off of what can be proven to be science. And by the way, that's also
best news of the day is Sky Australia's report on the Greta Green cult to let kids rule being done. Sweden is back to using fuel, including her home itself using it. I bet that was funny as could be.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Because, everybody needs, some form of, obviously we don't, but at the same time, everybody seems to need some form of electricity to live in a normal everyday life that we consider these days. And that's why life expectancy Go ahead.
But to my previous statements before, I think if you're following science, like it is like only what you can prove to be of like scientific method or whatever, or consensus of science or whatever the hell you want, like if you're following science as your religion, this is what you will come to. Right? So like if God does not exist to you, if there is no higher power that has created science, then science itself becomes your religion to a lot of people who want to believe in evolutionary theory and atheism and all the rest of that. That's what that becomes. And they create their own dogmas and their own religious texts and everything else, because that's what it is. You're creating a new priest class of scientists, and you're saying basically like the priests of ancient times used to tell their people, oh, the gods are mad at you, that's why it's not raining. You need to give us more of your money. You need to give us more of your funding. You need to give us more people, kill more people, and sacrifice them on these altars and for the pagan ancient, the pagan ancient gods and whatever. I mean, that's what they used to do. And that's what's happening here. It's a whole other rebirth of this elite class that claims that it is the science class, and that it has the ultimate authority on science, and that who cares about the scientific method and who cares about, actual study of observation science. It is the elite class. It is the permanent upper class. It's the priest class, as they have, called themselves. And of course, the priest class is in bed and in league with the elite class of people. Obviously, they're all the elites, and there's different sections of them, you might say, that do different things. But the priest class of the elite are these, you all Noah Harari people, and the who says that humanity's dead, we don't need any more human beings, looking forward to the end of humanity, so forth and so on, that kind of thing. He says all these statements like this, that we don't need people are useless, there's a need for people in the future, again, as you were talking about before, like all these robotics and whatever. And so he is a part of this priest class, as well as these others who are in this science-y cult type thing, who are claiming all this stuff about the future, and that we need to get rid of human beings, and that human beings are the problem. So stop consuming carbon, you horrible parasites upon the earth. Go die in a hole, allegedly, in Minecraft, right? Like that's what they want.
Yeah, TR,
so that's what
I get
this
that.
is.
Sky News Australia is very based in red pill. Yes, very much so.
Oh, there you go. Memento Mori, there you go. The elites always try to take us back to feudalism. Correctamente. Because that's what communism is. It's just a revised version of feudalism. You still have a dictatorial figure. You still have your House of Lords, the Politburo. You still have
What's up, Meme Copium? Just rips out commoners' hearts to sacrifice a Quetzalcoatl for rain. It's not perfect, but it's the best system we have.
I mean, right? Like that's what these elites are telling us all to do: eat bugs, go live in a pod, assisted suicide, other things like this. And hey, just go do that, and the world will be better off. It's a crappy thing. I know. That's what Yuval Noah Harari actually says. Look him up. He has a book, Homo Deus is what it's called. When humans become gods, the future, Homo Deus. That's Latin. Obama has read it and talks about it greatly. All these people have. He's their high priest type guy, whatever. And that's what he says. He's like, hey, it's messy, it's crazy, it's crappy, but it's the best system we have because it benefits us. Like that's what he literally says. That's a quote. Like that's what he says. Like this is the stuff that comes out of this guy's mouth at the World Economic Forum and these other places at the elite. So anywho, enough said with that.
Meme says, imagine needing somebody's assistance to off yourself.
Oh.
Says, I was taught Pluto was a planet. Yep, I remember that. And I mean, they pretty much took away pizza. I mean, there are 5 food groups you need to live. Yes, but the pyramid was wrong. The pyramid was totally wrong. It was used improperly for way too many years. Only recently had they come up with anything slightly better, but it was still kind of wrong, where they came up with the plate that actually divided your plate into different food groups or whatever, and how much you should actually eat. The proportions are still off. TR says, did you see the 10,000 doctors assisted in Canada last year? I didn't.
Oh yeah, that's what I was kind of referring to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, over 10,000 Canadians were assisted suicided. Oh, really?
Yeah, I agree with Germs there. Yeah, Pluto's a planet, and I'll fight anybody that disagrees. Yes. I mean, my very elderly mother.
But the consensus was that
pizzas,
it's just not the planet. So it's
something
not
or other. They took away
It's your box, you peasant.
Wrong.
Go eat your box.
Yeah. Shirts, you must have heard of Soros-backed org buying the last Mexico radio stations.
Oh yeah, and they're trying to buy up all the.
We
US.
actually covered some of that in an episode not so far back.
All the U.S. radio, yeah.
Viva's been covering it, trimming down population at the beginning and the end.
Yep.
Robin says it's legal here now with a doctor's note. Yeah, go figure. You go talk to the doctor and be like, yeah, I'm just done. Please remove me. It's scary. See, everybody's agreeing. We're not scientists, though, so we're not telling anybody to believe what they shouldn't, so I mean, go off of what somebody else says. Ash says you need a valid reason for that, the assistance.
I don't think doctors should do that anyway, because that opens up a whole shitload of stuff. I mean, a doctor's Hippocratic oath is to help.
You remember
at all
Dr.
times.
Kevorkian, right?
Dr.
Kevorkian. The guy that assisted with so many of them here in the States. You don't remember that?
I don't think so.
We just aged America too young to even know who Dr. Kevorkian is. It's the ones in chat for anybody that remembers who Dr. Kevorkian was.
Oh, bring up TR's chat right there that he just put in. He says,
I can understand
it.
If you have terminal cancer, it's very painful and things along those lines. Yeah, I get that.
But see, the thing though with that is that, well, what if a doctor tells you, oh, you have terminal cancer, it's some like tumor or whatever, and it's like, when in reality that's not really at all the case. I mean, it's like, where's the line? I mean, how can there be a line? Like, we're talking about a doctor trying to kill you.
See, look at all those ones. There's a lot of people that remember who Dr. Kevorkian is.
Oh, there you go. But with this kind of a thing, right? It's like, oh, I have terminal cancer, whatever. There have been people that have reversed terminal cancer. But like, as soon as somebody tells you, oh, you have terminal cancer, you're going to die 3 months, or like 4 months or a year from now or whatever. There's some people that have lived for 2 or 3 years after they've been told that. But yet we're just going to cut their life short because of that. And again, by the way, this is a controversial statement too, but cancer can be reversed allegedly by some other people. Look it up on alternative sources, people, because this is a thing. And I could go into all the ins and outs of that. But again, the very fact that like, oh, you're going to cut somebody's life short, everybody's life should be extended to the most amount possible. You know, I mean, for a doctor to just tell you like, oh, you know what, you have a terminal illness, we recommend that you kill yourself. Like what? You know, it's like, I mean, I'm not badgering TR here. I'm just bringing up that comment of like, I mean, that's kind of the mentality that some people have. It's like, well, I mean, the doctor said I had this. It's like, well, the doctor can be wrong. You know what I'm saying? And especially in a socialist government healthcare system like is in Canada, they can just tell you, oh yeah, you've got whatever, you have this, you have that, whatever, and you may have it, but maybe you don't, or maybe you don't, maybe you have it, but it's not as bad as they say. Maybe they said, oh gee, sorry, we told you it was terminal, it's really not, or well, we told you it could be it could potentially turn into something bad or whatever, right? Or maybe you reverse it a little bit, or maybe the possibilities are endless with some of this stuff. But yeah, we're just going to like assisted suicide you. I mean, this opens up Pandora's box to all sorts of hell on earth right now. That's what this does. I don't support any of it at all.
Memento Mori says, I think we should be able to choose and check out if we need to. I mean, I guess.
I don't agree with that at all.
To a point, only to a point, and that's where I, like the terminal stuff, like the main case of Orkian was Lou Gehrig's disease or ALS, right? So I mean, he served 8 years in prison for it. So I mean, it was a big thing back in the day. Thought it was,
and again, this kind of
Oregon.
laws.
I thought it was Washington. I could be totally wrong.
It was Washington.
Okay, a lot of this, it's like his whole life. A lot of it was spent in Michigan.
And see, these types of laws open up the door to the allowance of, oh gee, I mean, you are, mentally ill.
And see,
you can't live,
this,
right? Like you have to. I mean,
this is where I have to say that to a point is would you rather watch your family member suffer for your personal beliefs? If either one of my parents came down with something that was that bad, where they had an option,
life should be fought for at all costs.
Well, I get that, but. Now, say your mom got in a really bad accident and she was put into a coma, where you had the option of actually pulling the plug or leaving her sit there as a vegetable
that's not
for the rest of her
suicide.
Life.
That's not assisted suicide. That's a totally different.
Where does the line on? That's what I'm saying. There's certain levels of well, okay, at this point.
Oh, you're asking a general
point,
question.
No. Right. It's just like, where's the line? Where do you draw the line on where you actually consider it being, assisted suicide versus not? It's really there is a very faint gray line there that you really have to seriously think about when if like
and
your parent come down with
anybody else that's
all right. If your parent came down with ALS or something, and you've watched them suffer for so long. And they're just never going to get better. They're always going to be in that vegetative state. Would you not be able to assist them because of your own belief? So there's like I said, there's, and I agree.
But again, like when you draw that line, it's like,
suicide is not a
well,
solution.
they're going to be a potato for their whole life. I mean, sometimes people wake up from their comas. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean. Yeah. To say that a doctor has the right to kill you off or assist you in a suicide, that opens up such a big thing. I mean, again, right? Like, for example, you just said like, oh, they're going to be a vegetable their whole life. I mean, well, a cripple. Let's say somebody's crippled, right? Like, oh, they're going to be a vegetable their whole life. They're not going to be able to do anything. Just assisted suicide them. Oh, well, they're too mentally ill. They can't really function. Just assisted suicide them. I mean, you see, like, you're opening up Pandora's box when you make this a legal thing and you allow this all to happen, like across the board, like, oh, just have this assisted, whatever. Like, I mean, the possibilities for the excuses are endless. The malpractice that could happen and the deaths that could result of malpractice are endless. I mean, the ramifications for this way way outweigh the small other cases where some people might have to deal with some pain or whatever. Like, I think, I mean, my God. I mean, again, as I said, as you're talking about, it's like, where is this line? Is there a line? I mean, and then at what point does that line become like a wet spaghetti noodle and just to be moved wherever across the board, Like, oh, if they're a vegetative state or something, it's like, well, I mean, my God, like you could redefine vegetative state to mean whatever the hell they want. I mean, again, this is the scientific class. This is the elite classes we're talking about. They get to decide what the science is. So if your parent is going to be a vegetable because they broke their leg, well, I guess they just have to go. Goodbye. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, it's like, what? Well, it's too much money on the system. They're never going to be able to fix their leg. Their leg will the leg will have so much damage. It'll have to get cut off anyway. You might as well just end their life now. It's just not worth it. I mean, are we animals that we have to put ourselves down like a horse that broke its leg or a dog that's too ill or something?
Couple things that are coming out of chat
Yeah.
here. It's very interesting. So there's Robin. Where's the line? Yes, it's tough. It's never going to be a topic that's going to be easy. And in my opinion, it should not be an easy decision, but sometimes it's less ethical to keep a person suffering in bed. Says, I get your point, though. The doctors and government should not make that decision. Only the patient or family should. BLT says, don't find it concerning that people to suicide themselves by the tens of thousands. The number is staggering. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah, I mean,
it's very
it's
disturbing
insane. It's
when
like
you actually
all
think
of these
about it. When
people,
it comes
really,
down to it,
every
it's
single
like,
one of these
geez.
people were facing this sort of like, oh my golly, I'm so in pain. I'm so this, I'm so that, I'm so whatever. I'm not making fun of anything. I'm just saying, like, like I all these issues, all this stuff, all this whatever. I'm at death's door. Just take me over or whatever. It's like all of those 10,000 or more people were like that. I mean, what?
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's accurate.
I think
you know what I'm
chat
saying?
should have a voice on this. So TR says doctors have to declare people mentally sane and able to make the decision. Is you not competent, you won't have that happen. Ultimately, if people
the thing
don't,
is, ladies and gentlemen,
if people
they
don't want to be
manipulate.
alive anymore, they won't be the only way. Another one, in my opinion. So I mean, there's lots of thoughts and opinions that come along with
And
such
the
a
doctors,
drastic thought.
if they believe this New World Order narrative and they think humans are bad and whatever, I mean, again, we've already seen how these doctor people go along with the lockdown stuff and with the pokey jabby things and all the rest of that, and all of the medicinals that Fauci handed out and told everybody to take, and we saw what that has done, whatever those things may be. And so when the doctors are being manipulated, the system is being manipulated, everybody's being manipulated to further an agenda, and there are doctors that believe this themselves, which there are. I mean, it's like, why would you trust that doctor to give you a perfect prescription of like yes or no to, ending your life should you do it? Like, what?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you're still going to want some sort of an opinion. You're still going to want some sort of like, if you decide something like that. I mean, this is so bad. You open the door, you're opening. That's why it's like, just make the rule. No doctor-assisted suicide stuff. Just make the rule. That's my opinion, because the ramifications of this are so massive. I mean, you allow them to do this. Well, hey man, I mean, you've got another version of the Koof or whatever. You just need to be put down. It's like, and it's like, what? It's like, yeah, it just can't be treated. Right. We just need to get rid of you because then you'll infect somebody else. Huh? What?
Okay.
Sorry.
So real quick,
it's
Super V
mandated.
says,
And see,
I work
we've
in
allowed it to happen,
hospice.
so we've made our way into law. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is bad.
Right.
That's
Super
my
V.
opinion.
Super V says, I worked in hospitals. It's never up to the doctors. It's always up to the person of authority. Debbie says, my mom had a stroke and went into a coma 2 days later. She was 12. She said prior to that, she didn't want heroics. Robin says, I agree, shirts. I don't think that it should be easy. And it does become extremely gray with the situation. BLT says doctors have to sell certain types of things that don't work. That one's going to actually get kicked out of the YouTube side, just to say. Let's see. Short order cook says the fact that there do not resuscitate options when people are ill, coupled with the inability to sue or to question doctors and their practices, there's going to be mistakes. M says, Koolfrogg, the other point that's being missed is the government took away law abiders' pain meds and expect us to just suffer and put strain on the family. Memento says chronic pain is a real thing, though. It's partially the reason for the opioid epidemic. Yep, exactly. Yes. Germ says, yeah, medical mistakes kill more people than heart disease. Heidi says, I just realized they also get a lot of money for keeping people in life support. But yeah, some people do wake up. What about my body, my choice, free will? Yet AmericaShirts redefining terms at 100%. Right?
Wait, who's that?
Messy Mike 22. Welcome. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe. We do this Monday through Thursday. Fridays and Saturdays, we do large panels. And it's going to be some fun stuff coming up this weekend. So he says, you're picturing a healthy person dying while still healthy. I picture an ill person who's already been suffering. Heidi says, repeatedly showing itself to twist at everything that seems to start okay. Memento says, I'm lucky. I don't have any chronic health problems. Yeah, I'm currently not dealing with too many chronic health problems other than a sore shoulder and hand. Not really a health issue. I still have operation of my faculties in my hand. Ash is sorry for getting angry. Just had to deal with this year, and honestly, I do not fault my grandfather for not wanting to suffer. Yeah, I agree with you, dear. Absolutely. I don't know how much more I want to read. There's an awful lot of concern for this particular subject. It might be an interesting one to actually bring up one of these days and just talk about it for the whole show. You might be surprised how long we could actually go with chat in this particular conversation.
I mean, I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. I'm just trying to make this the point that the allowance of this across the board is opening Pandora's box to all kinds of hell. I mean, this is just insane. I mean, there are those things where, as you were talking about, Koolfrogg, of like, people say to pull the plug or not or whatever. And even I have my disagreements with that kind of a thing. And then Ash is saying something else and other people. And it's like, there's all these specifics. It's almost like the abortion debate, right? It's like we have all of these specifics and all these little instances where like, oh, well, what about an incest, or what about a rape victim, or what about whatever? And I would still fight for every one of those kids' rights, even if the kid comes out mentally ill, even if the kid has some sort of debilitating problem and their life may have been shortened as a result of that. I still want that child to live. Like that's my perspective. And I don't think that anybody that's a doctor should have the right to just say like, oh, well, you're this or you're that. You shouldn't live anymore, because they can encourage this. And some of these people do. And it's just such a bad rule, in my opinion, to just let this go through and be like, oh yeah, your disease has progressed too far. You need to, probably the best option for you to do is just off yourself. And then like 3 months later, it's like, oh, well, that was wrong. Huh? Oh, well, it's like, huh? I mean, some of these people that they say like, their kid, like you need to, like abort the kid or whatever. It's like, well, the kid wasn't even mentally ill. The kid wasn't like, the kid's fine. Like that was a total It's like, you would have had me kill my child before it was born because, oh, well, it would have had this problem. It would have never had a life. It's like that kind of moral debate goes circling around in my head. And it's just like, I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
But
Emma's got a good point there.
probably
She
have
says
other
probably safer to
questions.
do this, do a show off of YouTube where we can talk freely. Even if I did do it on YouTube because of what the conversation might get into, I'd
it's
most
becoming pretty
likely end up
extensive.
removing it from YouTube shortly thereafter and actually just making it, Rumble side only. The only reason I do things on YouTube and I remove them later and keep because most of the crowd actually comes through here. So I mean, as far as that goes, we may actually have to actually do that one of these days. Might be an
There's
interesting
winning
topic to
realities
actually
point,
talk
yeah.
about.
I mean, that's kind of what I was getting to, right?
End up as a choice that you make at any age and health condition, is what he's saying. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's what, it's like, oh, well, gee, sorry, you have this, or this is this, or this is that, right? Like, if we're able to redefine those terms in the abortion debate, I mean, like societally, like or nationally, like as your government or your healthcare system or whatever is able to redefine those things for children and be like, oh, it's okay if they go off and like the child gets killed, right? It's like, what's to say that a grown adult that's healthy doesn't get told that they're too off or that they're too whatever, right? I mean, this is just way too absolutely not. And then it's like, well, it should be between the person and the doctor and whoever. It's like, well, yeah, but that's what they say about abortions too. But sometimes they still end up being wrong. It's like the life still has a right to live as a human being, even above and amongst the animals.
So a couple things real quick. Heidi says, I had to continue the sentence with a. I said, AmericaShirts is 100% correct. In my opinion, to that I'm seeing redefining the terms and definitions. It's a consistent monkey wrench in what started as one thing. YTR is yelling at us. I have no clue. Doctor's choice. The doctor does not bring it up this as an option for a patient. Has to be the one asking for the option. No, we get that. It's totally up to the patient, or the person of authority, which sometimes isn't the patient.
I mean, this is what they did in Yahtzee, Germany. I mean, this is
significant other or their third cousin or whatever, because there's no closer family member or somebody that has no clue about this person in particular can be kind of where there might be some rough areas to speak of.
And I mean, this is what the Yahtzees did. They would go into the mental patient homes and they would go in and they'd be like, okay, sorry, there's got to be a little bit of assisted suicide going on here. We got to get rid of these people. They're a burden on the system. Oh, TR. Yeah.
Not yelling.
I figured he wasn't. No,
it's fine. That's what capital letters usually stand for. Or all caps is usually considered yelling. That's the funny one. So I said, I don't know why he's yelling at us, but yeah, no, we get that. We understand.
But I mean, like, this is what the Yahtzees did, right? And like, they went through and they were like, oh, well, because that's what they did. That's what they did in their laws, and they allowed for assisted suicide. And then it expanded to, well, I mean, sorry. And then it just kept expanding to the point where we all know where the Yahtzees went.
I only trust my dog to make medical decisions.
I know, right?
That's a good one, man.
That's probably your best bet. You see, and it's like, if the doctor tells you, hey, I'm sorry, you have X, Y, and Z thing, and you're never going to be able to reverse it, and somebody has their own life taken as a result of that, I mean, that's horrific. But we're not even talking about that. Even in the state of Washington, they were trying to make it legal for anyone to do it for insurance reasons. I mean, that's the level of crazy we're talking here. I mean, the minorities of the arguments, just like in the abortion debate, where it's like, oh, there's rape, oh, the child has this horrible, debilitating issue, oh, well, there's this, oh, well, there's that. Those are all minorities of the debate. The overwhelming majority of this is going to be good, healthy people that are dying whether it's a baby in the mother's womb or whether it's a perfectly healthy adult who's misprescribed something or is misdiagnosed or is just told that they just shouldn't live anymore. I mean, that's the majority of this patient-assisted suicide thing. That's the majority of this. And that's a big no-no. And that's what they want to push in Washington. And that's, I'm pretty sure that's what they have in Canada.
He says, I believe everyone has the right to do whatever they want in their life after adults. If they want to end it, they can. But I don't think a doctor-administrated one is a great idea.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't agree. I don't agree with suicide at all. At all. At any point in time, for anything, for any reason. At all. Period. That is a moral and religious thing and a reality thing to me, a truthful thing to me. Absolutely not. But I agree with, again, as he says, right, like doctor administrated isn't a good idea, because you're opening that door for the doctors, right? Like there's so many there's all these different facets. You have the pharmaceutical companies influencing things. You have other different corporations influencing things, the government and all of these people, they have agendas influencing things. And the majority of these people that are going to be hurt are not going to be these extreme circumstances or whatever. It's going to be the majority of them. It's going to be, and again, I would still argue personally about some of these different things on even the extremes. But the majority of people that are killed, again, it's just like the abortion rate. It's like the majority of the babies that are killed are perfectly healthy. They're perfectly fine. The mother just wanted to get rid of them.
I agree with you.
That's
I
what
agree
this
with
is
you.
going to be.
There's so
That's
much
what
on
they
that.
want to
But
push. And if you
having
look
a brother
at the
that had
documents
actually
that they
taken
have,
care of himself back in 1998, I kind of, it's very difficult to understand that the reason somebody feels the way they do and did what they did is their own thoughts or whatever. It is disturbing, and I don't agree with it, but he did what he did on purpose because he had gone through enough and he didn't want to go through it anymore. I'm not really going to delve into that story too far or whatever, but when it comes down to it, he felt the way he did and he did what he did because he didn't feel he wanted to be here anymore. And yes, it screwed up a whole bunch of us. Both me and my younger brother and my parents seriously think about it all the time. And it's not the easiest thing to do, to actually realize that somebody actually went to the point of actually doing that to themselves. It's very disturbing. And to think that it's okay to actually go to somebody else to actually, do what you couldn't do yourself is still just as disturbing.
and pull up
I'm
TR's
with you.
chat there. It says,
The
like I
last
said,
one?
well, before that one,
That
like
one,
I
this
said,
one.
yeah, like I said, if people don't want that, if they want to have some sort of
And that's what brought up my whole thoughts.
I mean,
online.
why
is because of
you know
that
what I'm saying?
particular comment.
It's like, why make this a legal thing? Like, why put this into law? Why put all this kind of stuff into writing and then say like, oh yeah, I mean, like Washington's saying, right? It's like, for insurance purposes, be better off.
Right. It just might be. The thoughts of people
No.
that are, I'm just saying, and I'm just going to give the thought is the thought of people not wanting to or wanting to do so, but can't do it themselves. Assistance to do it may be cleaner, easier, and less threatening to others and how they actually feel about it or whatever, because they actually went through the like I said, there's a fine line on there, and I still don't agree with it, but just to bring that thought into perspective a little bit is when you actually get down to it, is it cleaner and easier to actually go to a doctor and say, this is how I feel, this is what's going on? Now, obviously, you need a really good reason. Like you or I wouldn't be able to walk up to a doctor and be like, I just don't want to be here, period. We'd have to have some significant reason that they would actually, do such a thing.
They're M. Schwartz, right? I mean, there's where it comes down to, right there, that comment.
Trust me, doctors who want this responsibility. It's all government driven because they want universal care, and they'll be able to save money on expensive procedures, lifelong meds. Yeah,
I mean, that's the.
sure. Yeah. Robin, this is shirts. I agree with some of the things you're saying, but disagree with having my right to choose to go if I were suffering in the way the person was talking about those who want to live but can't in quality way. So, I mean, there's so many thoughts and perspectives on this particular subject. Like I said, it deserves its own. It really does deserve its own show, as opposed to being stuck at the end of a 3-hour show where we talked about lots of random other. We went through quite a bit. Winning Reality says, think about how many of these kids being messed up in schools and by parents today are going to be thinking that way in the future. Correct? There's an awful lot of stuff that actually can go on in their heads as they're growing up, as they're going through their initial phases of growing into
they're trying to
adult.
transsexualize all the kids, and then how the suicide rate of people that have quote unquote transitioned, that's like 40% of the people that have transitioned kill themselves after they've done it after several years. I mean, like, what if the kid's like, oh no, the doctor assisted procedure to do that, then the doctor assisted seizure to then suicide them off the planet? It's like, I mean, there's people. There is a larger agenda at play here, is what I'm really, really, really trying to get at here. Okay? This isn't about you and your personal whatever. Like, I mean, there is a larger agenda at play here. There are things that these people want to make legally acceptable that would be overall encompassing. They totally want to do this. And that's the point that I'm getting to, where you have laws where they're telling people that it's insurance. It would help your insurance, and it would give your children money. You should totally off yourself. I mean, how old are you? Like 60 years old or 70 years old? Like, you're totally off yourself. Don't worry, I'll help you. Like, what?
Okay, so I have to adjust this because now there's two people that are saying something about it. So TR says 988 is the number for the United States Suicide Prevention Hotline.
Oh yeah, that was his own comment. Sorry, I forgot about that.
No, that's fine. This is something that is new. 988 was whatever had been within the last whatever so many months that they actually created this particular hotline. It's the United States government that runs it. So at the same time, kind of think about that when you're going to call it. If you're going to call it, and yeah, I'm going to actually take it and I'll show it right here, real quick. So you can see it's 988. So anybody that's out there that really needs the assistance, right? There's plenty of other ways to speak with people other than talking to the United States government. You just don't know who you're actually talking to.
But this is
and
like
what
an
kind of,
type of a thing as well.
That's kind of supposedly what it is, but it's run by the United States government. So at the same time, what kind of list yourself on when you actually call that number?
Yeah.
Just, pay attention to what's going on.
But his intention is to try and
do need it, yes,
bring this up
do
to help
call that number. If you need assistance with some issue that's
rather
out there,
you live and be on a list than not. Put it that way.
Right. Exactly.
And again, priest, pastor, family members, any of that you trust that are good people. Obviously. And I mean, we talked about this with some of the people in the Discord a while ago about how like the medical system is so corrupt. So many of these doctors are so corrupt. I mean, I was even talking with somebody else about this a while ago about how, there seems to be a death panel list in certain in hospitals where they'll just be like, yeah, this person's old enough. Let's just kind of slowly. I mean, they kind of do this already. They just do it under the rug. The doctors do, where they don't want the patients to be around, and so they'll just kind of not do everything exactly right until the patient dies. And then it's like, oh, well, sorry. They were like in their 80s, they're dead. Sorry. And then just like,
Yeah,
cut
I
them
do
off.
agree with you, dude.
They do that
I
stuff, people.
did pin that comment. That comment is pinned to the top of chat for that 988 number. The reason I say what I said is there's other options out there as well. Like AmericaShirts says, see your pastors, whatever. Go talk to somebody that may be able to help you through your issues before you have to resort to calling such a thing as 988. Just saying. There's plenty of help out there. There's other people that will talk to you, that will help you out. If anybody in this chat or anybody that's going to listen to this in the future, hit us up, hit our server. We'll totally talk to you. We'll help you as much as we possibly can. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. Those that know who I've helped, you know what I'm saying.
Oh, there's meme copium, right? Like, I mean, he says if it's made legal, remember to remove organ donor from your ID, right? I mean, really. I mean, that's what they want. I mean, they want to bring the Chinese style of government here. I mean, and that's what the Chinese do. That's what the Chinese do to their people. I completely forgot about this. This is what the Chinese do. They'll be like, oh, sorry, you're too mentally ill. And so they'll just they'll just, I don't know, like give you like some sort of nerve stopping, like what do they call it? Like paralysis stuff or whatever. I don't know. And numbing and paralysis or whatever. And then they'll just harvest your organs while you're alive. I mean, like this is, or maybe they'll kill you and then do it. Just because they need your organs because they want to sell it in the medical market. I mean, it's literally that bad. I mean, that opens the door to this. This is what the Chinese do. And it's medical, it's government and medical assisted, and the government allows it. The government actually helps out in all of that. And the medical industry there, does that. Or industry, but the medical system there does that.
Didn't somebody say something about a booth in China?
Oh yeah, I mean this is real. I mean, this is what totalitarian governments want to push. Okay, and that's what needs to be stopped. That's why it needs to be stopped in its tracks. Now, other people can make arguments for other things, but just as a general rule, this should be a big no-no. And your state, your locality, your whatever, if you want to draw up something, if your local people want to draw up something and make something specific or whatever, the arguments can be made. And I don't think there's enough time to give all of those arguments a genuine debate per se. But I think, again, this is all obviously my opinion.
See, like I said, if anybody's having an issue now or in the future and they need somebody to talk to, look at that. There's another one, Madcore. Hit him up. He'll totally hold a conversation with you and give you some Australian
love.
So as far as that goes, we're all here to assist. If anybody needs something, talk to one of us. It doesn't matter who you talk to. Just talk to one of us. We'll try helping you as much as we possibly can.
Oh yeah, Madcore is a big ball of fun.
He is. Madcore's great. So,
we both said so.
3.5 hours. Yeah, we did. 3.5 hours in. If anybody else wants any other questions answered immediately or has anything else that they'd like to share, go ahead and tag us, throw something in the comment, and we'll continue. Otherwise, we'll go away soon.
And I hope that this has sparked discussion amongst people,
TR says,
because that's really
wrap with a happy story.
About.
Okay, we can do that. Somebody give us something to go off of, whatever, and we can totally speak of a happy story.
Yeah, we don't mean to necessarily go off on this. It's just, something that came up. But I mean, I hope everybody kind of
Okay,
takes
so
this
that
and
being said,
hears
let's
the different
try this
sides
one.
and learns.
So Tonic had sent
the point.
something to me earlier. Sent something to me personally or whatever that I thought was fairly interesting, and the conversation kind of went away from it. But because we're looking for something a little bit more fun to go away on, we can start with this and see where this leads us. Here you go. Teens are ditching Facebook for YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. Study confirms.
Did we need a study to confirm this?
No, I don't think we really did.
I was about to say, I don't
most
think
of
we
us
did either.
already knew that Facebook was not that you should just get rid of your Facebook, period. Instagram,
Yeah.
run by the same company as Facebook, Meta. I believe Snapchat is in the same, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I thought the three were in the same realm. If you're getting rid of your Facebook, you might want to actually think about getting rid of the Instagram, potentially, and just go with the YouTube. Come subscribe to us and hang out. Be surprised how many people you can get in touch with, how much fun we can actually have. Pew Research becomes PewDiePie Research Center. But here's the numbers on it. 51% of teenagers are using Facebook. They're way more likely to head to YouTube. 85%, Instagram 70%, Chat at 69%. The disparity is even more dramatic when asked which one site they use most often. YouTube 32%, Instagram 15%, Snapchat's at 35%, and Facebook's at 10%. Those numbers don't really. It's very interesting when you actually think about it. Cake or Death, challenging and thought-provoking as always. Thank you, Koolfrogg and Shirts and chat as always. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for being here. That's awesome. 69, nice. Yeah, you've had 69s for Snapchat. I seriously, I don't. I don't even have a Snapchat. I really don't even. I've never used it. Never. YouTube has updated policy, and you can now say "don't work." So many channels nuked for saying it. Memento says, "Okay, I'm crashing. Good night. Good night, Memento Mori. You have a wonderful night." That being good. That being said, everybody make sure you check out AmericaShirtsAreFirst.com.
That is AmericaShirtsAreFirst.com. You can get yourself a Bubba-based t-shirt. The latest one is Abolish the FBI because, folks, it's about time to.
And
Get
that
your
being
t-shirt
said, if you're willing to support me immediately, go and check out buymeacoffee.com/Koolfrogg. There is a PayPal link for those of you that don't know how to use Buy Me a Coffee. If you have an issue using Buy Me a Coffee. That being said, make sure that you check out our Rumble pages. That's America Shirts, as you see it on the screen. Capital A, capital S.
Yes.
I don't know why he doesn't want to actually help out with that, but.
Oh, you broke up on my end.
Oh.
You didn't say anything on my end.
Since I broke up, let's do that one more time. If you're willing to support me, immediately go to buymeacoffee.com/Koolfrogg. If that doesn't work out for you, there is a PayPal link down below as well. Everybody should make sure that they check out our Rumble pages. Rumble.
Oh, yes, capital A, capital S, all together, one word. America Shirts. You search there, you can find it. I have all those videos posted there. I'm wanting to post some more things here in the very near future, so go check that out, people.
And of course, there's locals. I will be hitting up that locals here very soon. I'm sorry for the delay on that, but it will be happening as soon as I possibly figure out which day I actually want to do that. Like I said, I'm going to take Sundays off from now on until further notice. It's really I've been doing this for pretty much almost 4 months straight every single day. It really is taking a toll, and I feel that I deserve to have the 1 day a week off. I'm sure most of you would agree that 1 day a week is very relaxing to actually have. An hour ago. Thank you for the donation. I was just checking to be sure if anybody actually donated, and that's awesome.
Oh yes, use the promo code Koolfrogg. Thank you, TR, and get 50% off any shirt in the store. That's with the discount code Koolfrogg. Save 15% on anything in the store.
Awesome. That being said, there's the Michael Malloy show decided to show up at the last minute. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello. I saw a video he has. It has over 35,000 views.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Fantastic. He's been around the block. Anyway.
Say goodbye, everybody.
Later, peeps.
Later.